ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 1 of the series, so be sure to stick around until the end. And let's get started. Alright, I got the popcorn and drinks, Tetsu announced as he closed the door behind him. The class just finished up packing for about 2 days after relentlessly trying to decorate their room and tour around the house. Knowing that they have the chance to live freely without their parents, they decided to have an impromptu movie night. There wasn't much to do on the weekend since they couldn't leave campus. But neither was one going to complain about it. Sweet. Setsuna smiled cheekily. So, what are we watching tonight? He inquired while setting the bowl of popcorn down on a nearby nightstand. Hananuki grabs the stacks of DVDs on a coffee table and decides to pick one. Well, we've pretty much watched nothing but bad movies lately. So tonight, I thought we'd actually watch a good one. What is it? Kamakiri asked. It's one of the old movies from the time before quirks. What's it called? Oppenheimer, he said after reading the English title on the television screen. It sounds like a doctor movie, Tsuburaba commented. Well, at least the title sounds cool, Tetsu replied, which gained a nod of approval from the others. While the rest of the class were looking all excited about the movie night, Kendo seemed to be the only one who seemed preoccupied with the missing student from the other class. She hasn't heard any news from Hatsum about whether Izuku made it back to the dorm or not. She said that he went out to the court once he was tinkering with the stacks of inventions he got from my island, but then she hasn't heard about anything just yet, whether he's already gone home or not. Izumi had assured her that it's going to be fine, saying that he might be running out of battery on his phone, but she knew that she was just trying to put on a brave face, knowing she too was worried about him. Momo also didn't know where he might have gone off. According to her lawyer, Mr. Desmond, he said that once the trial started, he took a break, going to the bathroom, and 5 minutes later, he went back and watched how Bakugu's trial came in, and he stayed silent in his seat, leaving her lawyer to get up and go on his own after the trial was over. She asked Mr. Desmond to check the court to see if he might still be there, but when he came back, he was nowhere to be found. The class is about to hit the play button, starting their movie night, when suddenly the screen changes and reports breaking news. We interrupt this program for breaking news. The news announcer spoke, wearing professional attire with a suit and a tie. An accident just happened on the road where a taxi was found exploding right in the middle of the Aizu skyline. The victim is a male under 20, and he didn't make it before the ambulance could get in time. The one who discovered it was a couple who were traveling by car when the car was blown up in front of them. According to the police report, the car was blown up right in the middle of the road, with both the driver and the passenger found dead, burned from the explosion of a faulty wiring that ignited the car engine. The police will continue this investigation as an accident, but we managed to identify the victim from an ID that had a UA logo on it in the victim's wallet. Dude, someone got caught in an accident. Who is it? Is it a student? Wait, all of us were here, so it must be from another class. But Kendo knows that someone isn't accounted for right now. They hadn't heard from him in quite some time, and then an accident occurred involving a UA student. She rushes off to the dorm and heads to the principal's office, ignoring the shouting from the others who ask where she's going at this time of night. She didn't know whether Principal Nizu was in the office this time around, or maybe Vlad-sensei, or even someone at the teacher's office, but she needed to know if it was true. She quickly arrived at the UA building and looked from outside that some of the lights were still on, so that means that someone is still there and not all of them are heading home just yet. Climbing the staircase, her footstep echoes in the empty hallway, heading to the principal's office. Arriving on the floor, she quickly marched over to the wooden mahogany door, not even bothering to knock, and just entered the office. She quickly saw that the principal was still in his office and saw Power Loader and Vlad-sensei, also in the same room, all looking at her, despite coming wearing casual clothes and just barging into the principal's office late at night. The last thing that came to her mind was a lecture for breaking the rule, and she only wanted to hear the truth about the news she had just heard in class. Sensei, the news, is it true? Kendo asked, panting from all the exhaustion from running. Kendo spotted a grim look on Power Loader Sensei despite wearing his mask, and she could have seen Vlad Sensei's expression turning away from her face, not allowing her to get a better look at him. The only one who seems to be doing a fine job is the principal with his incredible poker face, but didn't bring him far enough. "Sensei?" Kendo asked dreadfully. A light nod came on the power loader's head, but Principal Nizu is the one who delivered the sad news to the girl. Yes, the police just called to confirm the ID number on the victim. It matches with Izuku Midoriya. The memory set opened at the funeral of Izuku Midoriya. Most of the students of UA were in attendance at the graveside funeral, seated in neat rows of chairs lining the new grave. Momo and Kendo sat a few rows back, as did Hatsum and Power Loader. In the front row sat Izumi, who sobs quietly, seeing the wooden casket placed in front of them. Almost everyone in UA came to pay their respect to the funeral, from students to faculty. Even upperclassmen from the second and third year came to pay their respect, seeing as they knew him quite well from coming to the studio, and he helped with their order of the support items. The burial site is placed on the outer park of the UA ground, up on the hill, away from the school building and the dorm, requested by Principal Nizu, saying that it's his way to pay respect to what he accomplished over his time at UA, and UA should be his final burial place. At the grave, Izumi slowly stood, picking up the pink carnation in her hand. She slowly walked to the casket and gently laid the flower down on the lid, and the rest of the guests followed. Kendo and the others started to follow and place the flower on the casket and get a better look at the casket one last time before they buried it. After they finished putting the flowers down, Principal Nizu came to the podium and began to give a speech for today. "Thank you for coming." Principal Nizu addressed, wearing a black suit and a white shirt with a red tie. Izuku Midoriya is one of the brightest students we have ever had in this school. Izuku Midoriya was born without a quirk and has endured his life without one for the last 12 years of his life. He came to this life never asking to have one, but it didn't stop him from becoming what he wanted in the first place. "It's to help people in need," he said through the microphone. He was a good kid. He was an honorable person, and he's one of our brightest students who has ever graced this building. The fact that he didn't start out that way makes him, in my book, even more honorable. He stands as a reminder to all of us that anyone can be a hero, even without having a quirk. "We will miss you, Izuku Midoriya." Principal Nizu spoke, ending his speech as the casket was slowly being lowered to the ground. Once the casket is buried, 2 workers begin to dig back the soil and place it on the ground, covering the casket, marking the final part of the ceremony for today. A few sobs could be heard as they were all mourning over the loss of one of their own, especially at this age. Later that day, the reception was in full swing at UA. They transformed the Gamma Gym into a reception place for the memorial of Izuku. Guests milled about somberly, quietly talking to another while giving Izumi their condolences. She was wandering around the room aimlessly when Momo approached her. "Izumi," Momo said, getting the girl's attention. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm here." She wrapped her in a hug. "I know," she said. It's kind of bittersweet for her. Both Izuku and Izumi's relationship started rocky from the beginning, with him having resentment towards her for using her quirk's secret to get inside UA. And over time, Izuku had been trying to enact his plan to destroy their career, but Izumi, who managed to see the error of her ways, decided to stray from her class and began to form her relationship back with him, and now ends with Izuku in a casket. Had she tried to mend their relationship before, maybe the two of them could have started differently. What if she had never joined in with Bakugu's plan? What if she had stood by with him from the beginning? What if she had acted like a real sister to him in the first place? In another corner of the room, Setsuna approached a crying Kendo as she handed her a handkerchief. "Hey," she said. "Thanks," she replied, taking the handkerchief and dabbing her nose. We were supposed to go for a date today. We had it all planned out." "I know. I wish I could have told him." "Izuku knew how you felt about him." "He felt the same," she answered, despite Kendo's wishes to hear it from Izuku's own mouth. "Hatsum isn't here, I see." Setsuna glanced around, noticing the missing pink dreadlock from the building. She said that she had some urgent business to go through. Kendo replied. The two broke apart as Toshinori Yagi, who is now known as All Might, approached her. Now that his secret is out, most of the students recognized him as they often see him walking around the school before. Now it makes sense seeing that he is All Might, and if you take a closer look, they share the same trait. The same clothes, the same hair, the same figure of speech. It's all there. Young Kendo, I want to offer you my condolences. I heard that you and young Midoriya were close friends, he told the grieving girl. He was a good kid. He would have made a great hero one day. Thanks, she said. I know that this isn't a good time, but if you wish to talk, you know that I'm here for you. I know about a thing or two of grief, and despite my lack of form, I'm still everyone's hero. Toshinori noted. Of course, she said, watching him thoughtfully as he walked out. On the other side of the room, most of the Class A students also gathered at the memorial. Some of them had a relieved look on their face, knowing that the one person who's been threatening their entire future has finally met his end. That they could finally exhale and get some rest after all. Katsumi, of all people, looked to be the happiest of them all, knowing that Deku had finally gotten into an accident and met his doom. If she were to be honest, she didn't want to come here in the first place. She only came here just so she could get a close look at his loser friend's grieving expression and show it to her brother when she came to visit. Maybe they'll cheer him up. Can't believe that he's dead. Uraraka quipped. I know. Luckily the car had an accident, and he got trapped in there. Kirishima sighed in relief. Well, the driver got caught up in it. Yeah, well at least Deku is gone for good. Katsumi chuckled softly before she smirked in delight. Slap. A slapping sound could be heard echoing around the whole Gamma Gym as Katsumi's cheeks turned red. In front of her, Izumi's hand just went up above her head and found the same reddened mark on it, showing that she had just slapped her. How dare you show your faces in here? All of you. Izumi, you come to gloat? You all tried to get rid of him for years, and now you got your wish. Are you happy now? Is this what you all wanted? She tried to land another slap on her again, but this time it was stopped by her father. His expression is stern while holding her daughter's wrist. Izumi, this isn't the time. Get off me. Izumi yanked her wrist out of his hand before she walked away in frustration after causing a scene in the ceremony for today, gaining a few looks from the others. The ceremony came to an end, and the school decided to take a one-day break after what happened at the ceremony. Principal Nizu figured that the students were hit quite well with the emotional damage of the loss of one student, especially a student such as Izuku Midoriya. After the gloomy atmosphere just now, no one is in the mood to do anything. No one came to the library to study, or headed to the gym for some training, or hung out on the mall, but other than staying in the dorm and doing nothing but sitting in silence. The same could be said of the Class B dorm, as they were quite close with Izuku since he tends to talk with some of them, mainly with Tetsu and Setsuna. But neither of those two gets hit harder than Kendo, who is locking herself in her own room right now and does not want to come out. Right now, Kendo slowly opened her teal eyes while lying in her bed, thinking about what just happened. She's just lying in her bed there while holding her arms tightly, thinking of what has passed in the last couple of days. Normally, she would be downstairs helping their friends by serving them tea to cheer their mood, even a little, or going to their side, trying to give them some comfort to take their mind off of it. But today, she wasn't in the mood. The very thought of the funeral alone is loading her mind and draining her of any kind of energy. She's been in her bed almost every day, only going out to go to the bathroom and not bothering to eat or anything. All she's done is look at the last text message that Izuku sent to her the last time, where she was too embarrassed about the date. Izuku, next week, let's go on a date. I'll pick you up at class. It's just not fair to her. She was looking forward to today. She had it figured out what to wear for today, what to say to him when he came to pick her up at class, where they would go, the conversation she's going to have during the date, and even the plan where she would ask him about his feelings towards her. While she was deep in her thoughts, she heard a knocking coming on her door. Kendo, it's me. She knew whose voice it was, but she didn't have the energy or the will to come over and open the door. And she heard the door being opened from the outside, and someone walked into her bed. It was Izumi entering the room, all dressed up, wearing a plain t-shirt. She's sitting near her while asking her a question. Kendo, are you okay? She didn't turn her head around and stayed in her position while lying in the bed. No, I'm not. Izumi slides over to bring herself closer to her. How are you feeling? She asked softly. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Mostly I'm just tired, she continued, lying in bed while she sat near her. You really like my brother? Huh? She asked, trying to soothe her for a bit. She quietly nods, confirming her question. Normally, she would be too embarrassed to even acknowledge, but now, all of her shame and worry are gone, knowing that he's no longer with her. It's kind of unreal, that he's gone, Izumi replied sadly. Momo is in her room too, although she's trying to cope with it. But I know that my brother wouldn't want us to be moping around like this. I know that I'm not having the greatest relationship with him now. But if there's one thing that I know is that he's the most resilient guy I've ever met. Kendo slightly looked up and knew what she was talking about. If there's anyone that she knows who is more stubborn than anyone else, that would be Izuku. His drive alone is enough to win the sports festival and prove himself. But Kendo just didn't have the drive to keep going now. A ringing sound came from Izumi's phone, and she quickly picked up, but found that it was an unknown number, one that she didn't recognize. Hello. Hey, it's me. Hatsum, she called, recognizing her voice. Listen, I'm going to skip the chit-chat. Can you come to the studio? It's an emergency. Emergency? Yeah, it's about your brother. At the studio, Hatsum is present after calling Izumi, asking her to meet her at the studio. She also texted Momo from the class about the same thing, just in case the two of them were in a separate room. It was supposed to be an explanation of what she had just discovered, and she wanted to get their opinion on what to do. But she didn't expect that Kendo would be here as well. So what is it? Kendo asked after being told by Izumi to come and meet with her at this time. She really wanted to just stay in her room, but upon hearing Izuku's name, she figured that she wanted to come. Are you sure you wanted to know? Hatsum looked doubtful, not expecting Kendo to join in. Huh, what do you mean? She asked, not understanding what she meant. Is it okay with the two of you? She looked to both Momo and Izumi, who knew the kind of topic they were having to discuss since Kendo was the only one who had been out of the loop of everything. It's fine. She deserves to know. Izumi answered. She knows that they couldn't keep the secret any longer, and Kendo, who's close to Izuku, would want to know what's going on with Izuku's fate. Hatsum sighed. All right, I'll just skip the explanation. I don't think Izuku was killed by an accident. Upon hearing that, all three of them couldn't help but reel in shock over the news that was coming out of Hatsum's mouth. What? All three of their voice overlapped with one another. I just said to all of you. Izuku didn't get killed by the accident. Whoa, back up a little. Start at the beginning. What do you mean he didn't get killed in the accident? Izumi said. Clearly, they would need a bit more explanation from the bomb that Hatsum just dropped into the conversation just now. I hacked the CCTV of the courthouse building on the day he went there, and I found that Izuku is taking a cab from the station, mostly because he planned on heading to UA. Why didn't he take a bus or a train? Izumi lowly grunts. The reporter is crowding him at the entrance. Figured that he just wanted to avoid the press and go for something more mobile and less conspicuous. Hatsum replied after examining the situation from the recording. So he's taking a cab to head back. Except that I hacked through the taxi company, and I find that particular taxi isn't supposed to be operating at all. There's no record that the taxi should be operating. From what I can tell, that taxi should be in maintenance and locked in an impound. So someone stole that cab? Could be, but I don't know who or why. The time to drive from the court to UA is only 45 minutes, but his body was found 3 hours later, and that taxi didn't take any passengers at all for the day. Something is up. My dad, Izumi muttered in a low tone. What? Hatsum turned her attention to her. My dad. You must have done something to him. Whoa, back up. What do you mean your dad did something to him? Now, it was Hatsum's turn not to understand what she was talking about. I bet that he ordered someone to silence my brother. He must have done something, I just know it. She yelled. Of all the things her father did, she couldn't believe that he would go for something as murder, and not to mention that it was Izuku. Hold on, I get where you're coming from, but how can All Might order something so brazen like that? His secret already comes out, and people are bound to recognize him if he puts on some order like that. Hatsum asked. Obviously, You can't expect that number one hero is tied to an assassination project involving a 15-year-old student. You don't understand what he's capable of. Izumi told her, knowing the influence of number one hero better than anyone. I'm telling you that all. Might must have something to do with it. Maybe Izuku got close to something, and All Might got scared, and he decided to silence him for good. You really think he actually did it? Hatsum asked, despite knowing from the notebook she found from Izuku that had the name of Tashinori Yagi in it. She would need a lot more than that. I'm with Izumi on this one. All Might has been trying to sabotage Izuku since he came to UA. It makes sense that he must have been involved with this. Momo agreed with Izumi's theory. But All Might? All three of them turned their heads towards Kendo, who had been silent this whole time and merely listened to the information that was being thrown at her. All Might, is a number one hero involved with Izuku's death? Of course, Kendo knows about the bullying case with Izuku and the current Class A in the past, but she had no idea that All Might had a direct involvement with it. Wait, All Might is involved? Izumi and the rest know that they need to backtrack just a bit to explain to her. So they began to explain to Kendo down to the very beginning, from the time when Izuku and Izumi were diagnosed when they were 4 years old, from how he was being bullied in school, to the incident with Bakugu when he was stabbed, how he was running away for 10 months before coming to UA by blackmailing Principal Nizu with One for All secret, and down to how he planned to bringing down entire Class A with everyone else with it. It took about a full hour for Izumi to explain everything, and the facial expressions of Kendo, filled with shock and surprise at nothing but a statement for all of them. And that's about everything. She finished telling her about it, and waited for her to grasp the reality, knowing the bomb she had just dropped this time. Well, that was a lot, Kendo said as Izumi just finished wrapping up his story. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Izumi shakily replied. She felt her throat hurt after talking for so long. Hatsum, who's sitting in the back, felt a sense of déjà vu with this whole thing, remembering how shell-shocked she was when she found out about Izuku. Okay, so let me make sure I have everything straight. Kendo started while rubbing the sides of her head, looking all three right in their eyes. All this time that Izuku is staying here in UA is so that he could get his revenge against your class and both Izumi's parent for everything they did. But then you discovered that All Might, who is the number one hero in Japan, had something to do with Izuku's death for him to find out something big that could damage his career, but none of you know what or who. And Izuku didn't share one info with it? Yeah, that covers it. Izumi nods, summarizing her words. Kendo took a moment to walk around the room for a bit to clear her mind and get herself in order. Of all the things that she was expecting to hear during this conversation, this definitely was not it. In all honesty, she was having a hard time wrapping her head around this. And if it wasn't for the fact that Izumi or Yaoyorozu were the ones telling her this, she would not have believed it at all. The number one hero is involved in a conspiracy to kill one of the UA students? Something like that was impossible. Then again, they do live in a world where people can grow to the size of giant buildings in the blink of an eye. So a government bureaucracy is something that's in their wheelhouse right now. The orange-haired teen plopped down on her seat to rest her head before looking up at all three of them, who were giving her a concerned look. She had no idea if that was because they were worried for her or worried about how she was going to react. They stayed silent for a few seconds longer before Izuku joined her on her seat and delicately placed her hand on her shoulder. You okay? Izumi asked before she brushed her off from the stress she's having now. I'm not okay. I'm never going to be okay. She looked around in frustration, almost like she was having a mental breakdown. Just try to take it easy. Hatsum consulted her, trying to catch her breath. Oh my God, I can't believe this. She broke down, unable to believe what she just found out. She groaned while sobbing at the same time, knowing that her crush is being killed over something like this. The rest of them had no idea what to do at this point, seeing her break down like this. They knew they had an issue with breaking the news, but she didn't expect it to lead to something like this, seeing her break down. Then there's this. Hatsum typed on her computer and showed a video with a middle-aged woman wearing a blazer, making what appears to be an official statement, standing on the podium. I'm Ton Chiharu of the Mizudafu Education Board and the leading committee of the UA investigation. I have been investigating UA students for the past couple of months after the statement of one student during the sports festival. With some scrutiny from the public, we have been working tirelessly to uncover any other incidents involving the entire UA faculty. But I must tell the truth now. When the news broke out that UA was under scrutiny, I was eager to make a name for myself and took my investigation too far. As a result, I was demoted. My personal feelings got the better of me. I have caused a great inconvenience to the staff and students, mostly to Class A of the first year. It is within my decision that I've come to realize that UA students are not all like Katsuki Bakugo. I am holding this press conference to come clean about my wrongdoings and to recover the trust the Muzutafu Education Board has lost. From now on, I will serve the people of our country without letting my emotions get the better of me. Moreover, my ambition has deeply mistreated the whole UA students and staff for our investigation. I would like to apologize for my actions. She took a bow as the reporters snapped pictures of her figure, bowing and making an apology statement to the cameras. Now, without the education board out of the picture, Class A is no longer under the impression of them having any connection to Aldera and even Katsuki Bakugo, meaning that they were in the clear. Izumi can't believe this. What her brother had tried to accomplish at the sports festival after taking on Bakugo in her class, after enduring all of that, and it came to naught, that it was over just like that, and none of them faced any punishment whatsoever, is disgusting. Her brother gave everything to uncover their past, and now it's all come down to nothing thanks to her father. Look, Hatsum cut short on the topic, pressing pause on the video. I know that this isn't the great time, but we need to discuss what to do here. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the mission. Izuku's mission. Hatsum helped clear the matter. All three of them, including Kendo, listen to what Hatsum is talking about. Of course, all this time, it has always been Izuku and Hatsum who were in cahoots, and Izuku is leading the charge, but now with his absence, someone will have to fill his shoes. Now that Izuku is gone, mostly what he did is now considered to be over since it was his goal. So what should we do right now? She brought up a good point. Now that Izuku is gone, what should they do with the information they possess? The logical option is to go through the police or heroes and help expose it and get the responsible party to face their consequences. But it's not that easy to begin with. Since All Might is at the top, he can easily dismiss the evidence and brush it off without even blinking. He could get the evidence tossed out before it could land on them or spend even an hour in prison. They could go to Principal Nizu and inform him of everything they found out, but they didn't know whether the principal could be trusted with this kind of information, wondering whether he had anything to do with Izuku's demise or not. Not just UA, but everyone on the faculty can't be trusted with this kind of information. The media is a no-go, since it's too risky and their story could be considered a hoax without a credible source. And the victim is no longer with them, so they couldn't prove it. And the words of the perpetrator aren't convincing enough to go with at all, knowing their position right now. If they choose to expose themselves to the truth, then it could backfire not just on Momo and Izumi, but on their closest family and friends, since All Might had allies everywhere. All three of them were racking their brains before someone answered. We'll go on. Both Izumi and Hatsum turned their heads to the rear and looked to where Kendo was standing as she just uttered those words. Her face looks enraged, trying to hold her emotions that she's feeling right now, like she's carrying out his vengeance. I don't care what it is, but I'm not going to let them get away. That's not why I became a hero in the first place. If Izuku thinks that they were bad people, then that's more than enough for me. I trusted him. Kendo, his mission will carry it. He might be gone, but his mission will continue. Kendo's eyes were brimming with conviction, showing her determination. I'll carry it out for him. 2 months have passed since the funeral of Izuku Midoriya, and most of the students and staff have moved on with their regular lives as always. The school continued to progress as usual, with the class running as always and the courses running as scheduled. As for the hero course, they were all training there, but to the ground for the upcoming hero license exam. They were all busy training to get their hands on one, knowing it's the official proof that you are qualified to be a hero in the eyes of the public. That afternoon, the students of Class A had just made their way into the Gamma Gym. When they finally walked into the building, They were met with the sight of the students of class be hard at work with their own training. The place was a buzz of random crashes and explosions from different ends of the gym. Kan, you do know that your time is almost up, right? Aizawa told his white-haired co-worker. Vlad King glanced at him before letting out what the students of class said. We were just about to finish up. Besides, we still have 10 whole minutes left before we need to leave. Plus, some of my students weren't ready to leave just yet. Vlad King glances to the corner, right side of the gym, where they find Kendo is training on her own. Most of her class didn't try to join in or interrupt her at all after what happened to her. Ever since the funeral of Izuku, Kendo hasn't been her usual self and has changed quite drastically according to her friends, as she's gone all serious and focused on her training. Kendo couldn't sleep. There were too many memories that haunted her sleep, but she had trouble understanding the world around her, especially what she witnessed 2 months after finding out the truth about Izuku's death. So Kendo has been going to work out and train as a way to push away the painful memories. As Kendo punched the punching bag in front of her, she couldn't help but think of the boy she knew and had flashes of an image as she kept punching the bag. She always imagines the bag as one of the Class A students or All Might, knowing he had something to do with it. It makes it easier for her to concentrate. How can she always see him exiting the dorm, walking down from the court, entering that taxi, then the flash before the explosion? Each punch grows even harder as she keeps hitting the bag out of frustration, venting her anger, imagining him getting exploded in that taxi, trying to relive his last moment with her version of memory before he got caught in the explosion. Goodbye, Kendo. With one last hard swing, Kendo punched the bag across the room and into the wall, unconsciously using her quirk, and sent the bag flying, surprising the other student who had come to watch. It pissed you off? A voice asked. Kendo turned and saw Izumi standing next to the door. I'm fine, Kendo replied, taking off the bandage that was wrapping her hand. Here, it helps cool it down. She tossed an ice pack over to her hand to compress it. Thanks for the ice pack. Kendo thanked her, but it seems like her mind is somewhere else now. I know. Come on, the other class is waiting to use the gym too. Izumi asked her as she was heading back to the locker to get changed. From afar, both Vlad and Aizawa glance at Kendo for her feat of sending the punching bag about 7 feet away from where it was supposed to hang. They both knew that ever since the news of Izuku Midoriya's death, Kendo had changed. Of course, in terms of academics, her grades remain the same, and when it comes to her class, she is always the big sister that everyone can always count on, but it's her personality that worries them. When it comes to her alone time, she always trains at the gym after class, sometimes for more than 2 hours, whether it's with her class as a sparring partner or by herself. And sometimes, they could see that Kendo likes to stroll at night by herself whenever it's above curfew time. She's pushing herself too hard, Aizawa commented, looking at the orange-haired teen. Yeah, it happened when that Midoriya kid incident. Happened, Vlad replied. She needs therapy, Aizawa pointed out. Vlad sighed, crossing his hands in front of his chest. I tried that before, but she said that she doesn't need it, and I don't want to push her into it. Well, you'd better tell her to talk to someone, or she'll burn out. I know how that feels, Aizawa replied, knowing he had found a similarity between himself and Kendo. Aizawa then walks by, taking the ownership of the gym away from Vlad before he leaves the Blood Hero with one message. By the way, Nizu called, said that he'll be getting a new teacher today. I heard he's a foreigner. Oh, a new teacher? We haven't had one since All Might came. Yeah, he's taking over the heroic course this year. He's quite young too, so don't mess with him. I could say the same thing to you, with your logical ruse and everything. Vlad bid his farewell and headed to the student lounge, wanting to greet the new teacher who had just come. Lunchtime has come, and most students gathered in the cafeteria, eating as a group. At the moment, the students were on their lunch break and eagerly awaiting their first heroics class after returning to school. All the boys were crowded around one of the larger tables near the back wall, chatting about everything from dorm life to the new music that had recently come out. No one knew what they were going to be doing for their next class, but their excitement was almost palpable. With most of the class sitting with their fellow classmate from the same class, one table is quite different than the other. In one particular table lies the group of Kendo, Hatsum, Momo, and Izumi, all sitting up together. So, you guys were busy with your class? Hatsum asked the group across the table. Yeah, we're about to have the provisional exam, so we're training down to the bone now. Izumi nodded, taking a bite of her lunch. I heard that Shiketsu and Ketsubutsu are going to come too. Kendo pointed out that overheard it from one of the seniors. They've been in a rivalry with UA since the beginning. Momo addressed. What about you? You're going to have your exam too? Kendo asked the support course student, wondering if she's going to have her own exam as well. Yeah, we're going to test building. Power Loader said that we're going to go with the hero course as well since the buildings are close to one another. No way. We'll meet at the exam then. Momo mentioned knowing that the two of them might be heading there together. Hatsum. Their lunch got interrupted when someone came to their table. It was a boy with long blue hair on the right side, which is kind of like his signature style. He also seems pretty short, almost as tall as Hatsum. Oh, what do you need? Hatsum asked. I want to ask you for your input on my design, he asked quite timidly, almost like he was pretty shy. Sure, go right ahead, buddy. Hatsum immediately grabs his design and gets a better look at it and places it on the cafeteria table. Hatsum, who is this? Momo asked, not seeming to be the only one who needed an explanation. Oh, where are my manners? Everyone, this is Kuzumi Yurita. He's a new student who just came about a month ago. Power Loader Sensei has asked me to keep an eye on him. A new student? Izumi asked since it's kinda unusual for a student to join in this late in the semester. Yeah, he's homeschooled before. Hatsum shrugged, but Principal Nizu saw his application and let him in, and I've been keeping him on track with the course now. Well, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. He nods quite timidly, almost like he's shy of them. Oh, ignored him. He's a quiet kid, but he's good, you know. She slapped him on the back, which seemed to make him even more flustered. The group began to talk with one another, as Hatsum began to console the new student, finding it quite interesting that, of all people, Hatsum found herself a mentee to teach. However, the said mentee, sorry to say, is acting as if he's just reached puberty about a month ago. Whilst talking, she overheard from the other side of the table what appeared to be a ruckus, and it looked like a fight was happening. Tetsu came in between and separated the group of students who were butting heads with one another. Hey, watch it. One of the students, with curly black hair and an emo kind of look, shoves past Sato, who's having a fight with. You watch it. You're the one who's in my way. Sato angrily rebuts. It's because of how big you are. You're like a rhinoceros with big lips standing there out of everyone's way. The two of them continued on their own way as they continued to shove passes to each other and angrily shove against the other student, which caused a small fight to break out. Oh man, not again. Izumi sighed, putting her utensils down, feeling like she was losing her appetite. Who's that? Yurita asked. That's Mikumo Akitani. He's also a transferred student, just like you. Kendo replied, with annoyance in her tone. He's in the business course, but so far he likes to pick a fight with the hero course, some saying that he's jealous because he didn't get in. He's kind of scary, Yurita replied, looking at how he's acting like a hoodlum. He also likes to flirt sometimes. Kind of like a pompous playboy if you asked me. Hatsum pointed out, remembering how he likes to come to her from time to time and flirt with the girls in her class. While talking, the ruckus continued, as the whole cafeteria turned into a food fight frenzy, with the other students getting caught in the middle, mostly the 5 who had nothing to do with it. Neither Sato nor Mikumo was backing down from one another, and they began to throw food at each other's faces, but it was only a matter of time before they began to attack using each other's quirk. This is getting out of hand. Kendo hides behind the cover of her table along with the rest of the group. Not just them, but they could also spot a few students hiding behind their table. The group continues to hide under the table when suddenly they hear a banging sound of what appears to be a firing gun. Bang! A firing sound could be heard over what appeared to be a pistol, as all of them thought that they were under attack. Izumi decided to look up from under the table and was glad to see Snipe Sensei, along with Cementas and a foreigner that she didn't recognize, standing right next to each other. All right, that's enough. All of you get back to your class, Cementas spoke, as the rest of the students were making their way back to the classroom, passing the teacher's way. They continued heading to the class while grumbling, knowing that most of them would get a lecture from their respective homeroom teacher after this. They were making their way before Snipe grabbed hold of one of the students' arms as he passed the teacher's way, trying to slip past. Sorry, partner. You're heading to detention with me. Snipe grabs hold of Mikumo's wrist, trying to keep him from escaping. Mikumo clicked his tongue in annoyance and stayed right where he was, knowing he had just been busted. He then saw Izumi's group walking by and recognized them immediately. Well, hello, ladies. Fancy meeting you all here? Mikumo replied coolly. Can't say the same thing about you. Seems like you always got into trouble, Izumi replied in annoyance, knowing that he's rumored to be a playboy who likes to play with other girls. He even tried to hit on Momo a couple of times, but got rejected. Well, trouble tends to follow me, he replied. Schofield, sir, I'm afraid we're going to have to postpone the school tour for now. Seems like we have a situation in our hands. Snipe replied in an English tone to the foreigner. It's okay. It can wait, he replied fluently. Snipe-sensei, who's this? Kendo asked, looking at the foreigner in front of them, wondering who he was. Oh, where are my manners? This is Mr. Kevin Schofield. He's the new heroic teacher for the second year and the assistant for the English class for your first year. Snipe introduced the new teacher to the students. English teacher? What happened to Mike Sensei? Hatsum asked. He's fine, but he's got overwhelmed with the number of students this year. So we put an application and got ourselves a foreign teacher to help lift the workload from him, Cementos replied, staring at the students, and got himself an idea. Actually, could you four help Schofield Sensei with a tour of the school? I'll talk with your homeroom teacher about it. Oh, sure, we'll be happy to. Izumi looks around the group as they nod, accepting the request. I gotta go. I need to review Yurita's design, so I'll see you after school then, Hatsum replied. Oh, okay then. Izumi nods, and both Hatsum and Yurita take their leave. Great, Schofield Sensei, I'll leave you in their care. Snipe Sensei bid his farewell. Thank you, he replied in English. Soon, they were left with only the new teacher and Izumi's group standing in the cafeteria, waiting for the upcoming tour of the school for the day. So, shall we start the tour? Schofield Sensei replied in a Japanese tone, much to their surprise. You speak Japanese? Kendo asked. Well, I was self-taught, so sorry if my language is kind of bad, he replied. No, it's just. We're surprised, that's all. Momo replied, sounding genuine. Other than present Mike, you're the only hero who's speaking two languages. Now that they were left alone with the teacher, they could see his average figure wearing a gray jacket on top of a collared black shirt, black pants, shoes, and his trademark black knit cap, despite the school dress code. But some teachers had their own preference in terms of appearance. Well then, where should we be going? Schofield Sensei, who was waiting, inclined his head and asked, How about the hallway? Then we'll go to the classroom. Kendo suggested that they first take him to the cafeteria, but seeing that they were already here, that idea was scrapped. Sure, I won't mind. Schofield Sensei replied as the group agreed to it. To reach the classroom on the first floor, they have to take the stairway in the west building first. The group walked down the hallway with a leisurely footstep, and upon reaching the hallway, they could spot a few students who still hadn't returned to their class, glancing in their direction, seeing the new teacher walking with them. There are a few students still lurking here, I see. Schofield Sensei glanced and spotted a few of the students lurking outside the class. Yeah, since class has already started and the teacher hasn't arrived just yet. Kendo helps explain. Back in America, students were wearing casual clothes. We don't have uniforms like the ones you guys are wearing. He looked around, finding all of them wearing the same blazer and shirt, and even a tie. I can tell. My parents said that they were wearing normal clothes. Momo replied, and Schofield Sensei turned his head towards her. Oh, you've been to America before? Once, for a family matter in Chicago. Ah, Chicago. It's quite far from my hometown. Oh, where are you from? Los Angeles. Soon they all swapped each other's stories with Schofield Sensei and the class, and they learned quite a bit. It turns out that Schofield Sensei is still young at 25 years old, and he's graduated from the top university in America. He's staying in Japan on business alone and has no relatives here. Since he was still young, it was easier for them to talk to him than to other teachers with an age gap between them. They continued walking down the stairs, heading to the classroom, giving a quick tour, and returned to their class since homeroom was about to start, when suddenly they spotted Katsumi and several Class A students, consisting of Mina, Kaminari, Shiro, Kirishima, and Uraraka. "Well, look who it is," Katsumi said in her usual lazy drawl, "the traitors and her loser friend." Shiro and Kaminari chuckled trollishly. "What do you want, Katsumi?" Izumi took a step forward, confronting her old classmate. Ever since the news about their name being cleared, thanks to All Might's influence and those above him, they were all acting like kings on their high horses, walking around like they owned the place. "I see that you lump yourself with the rejects of a hero course," Katsumi sneered. "After all, that's why you're there, and I'm here." "What did you just say?" Kendo asked, taking a step forward after being badmouthed. "You heard me." She turned to Kendo. "We all know that Class A is the one who gets all the attention for being the best, while you, B team, were just the scraps from the bottom of the barrel. And that pathetic Deku met his end tragically." Kendo walks in swiftly, moving Izumi out of the way and confronting her in the face. It looked like the two of them were ready to throw a punch at her face. Whoa. It sounds like a fight in here." Schofield Sensei came in between, gaining the attention of the others in the hallway. "Who's that?" Katsumi said, taking an automatic step backward as she spotted Schofield Sensei, whom she had never seen before. "Oh, sorry. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Kevin Schofield." He spoke in Japanese. "Are you lost?" "Get out of the way." Katsumi scoffs, trying to get him out of her way. "He's the new teacher," Momo said, who got to her feet, too, in case she needed to hold Kendo back. "What were you saying, Katsumi?" Katsumi's pale eyes narrowed. She wasn't fool enough to pick a fight right under a teacher's nose. "Come on," she muttered resentfully to the others. They were about to disappear before Schofield Sensei spoke a few words to them. "I think I saw you before." He then snaps his finger in realization. "Katsumi Bakuga, right? I heard you on the news." "News?" "Yeah. You were quite the talk when I came here. News all over the channel saying that you weren't like your brother, that you were different from him. How were you trying to redeem yourself?" They all apologized for assuming that you had anything to do with it. "Oh yeah, thanks." She was glad that at least the new teacher showed some respect. Schofield Sensei gave a low smirk. "But in America, that's a different story." Katsumi raised a brow as the rest of the students listened to what he was saying. "School violence, while it's quite common in our school, never goes as extreme as trying to use a quirk to push someone off the rooftop building. And I don't believe the news saying that you have no idea what happened, knowing you were his sister. So either you were an ignorant kid or you took part in it." "Hey, watch it." Katsumi spats. "Yeah, Katsumi is innocent." Uraraka came up and defended her, with the rest of Baku Squad following. Schofield Sensei slowly turns to Uraraka and gives her a side glare, which startles her for a moment before he resumes his conversation with them. "Do you know what people in my hometown call you all?" "Students of Class A." He asked while the rest were waiting to hear what his answer was going to be, and he replied in English tone. "Little murderer." "What did you just say?" Katsumi angrily rebuts, wanting to get a piece of her mind before Aizawa-sensei comes from behind and grabs hold of her wrist. "What's going on here?" Aizawa-sensei asked. "Oh, sorry," Schofield-sensei chuckled. "My Japanese was still out of practice, and I must have said something that insulted her." "I'm sorry, sir." "Well, you'd better train your Japanese quickly then. Won't want to cause a misunderstanding like this again." "Oh, sure," Schofield-sensei replied. Soon, the tour came to an end as Aizawa-sensei instructed the rest of them to head back to their class, including Katsumi and her friends. Kendo and her group also took a different direction, making sure that they won't cross paths in the end. Principal Nizu was just done with a meeting with the new teacher, Kevin Schofield, who's going to be covering both subjects for 2 different student years this time around. It took about 15 minutes to get it done, and it was just the time for him to get his morning tea done. He sighed heavily, enjoying the quiet moment that he had, like he had just caught a break after so long of work. While sipping his tea, he picked up a paper on the academic grades of Class A, and his lips turned sour immediately. It's been 2 months now since the news broke out about the clear name of the students of Class A, saying that the allegation in terms of participating in the bullying of Izuku Midoriya is false. Even though the media and the officials have ruled out the case itself, Nisa didn't believe that the allegation is true at all. Counting on the evidence provided by Izuku Midoriya alone during the sports festival, along with a missing documentary report from Aldera itself, raised a red flag that something is happening. Not to mention, he found several students from Aldera caught in a series of bullying cases and harassment against the students, which proves that Aldera is a cesspool of incompetence. He suspected that something had happened inside it, and the whole of Class A students were graduates from Aldera, which is the school where Katsuki Bakugo comes from, along with Izuku Midoriya. It obviously didn't make any sense if any of the Class A students didn't know about it. Something has definitely happened. Their records are all spotless, and despite the evidence and suspicion, the case is being dismissed due to lack of evidence. He didn't know the whole story of it yet, but he intended to find it out and uncover the truth. Afterwards, the school came to an end, and everyone is packing up their respective belongings and heading out to the dorms or going out sometimes. But for Kendo, it's always the same routine, heading to the gym to get some exercise and heading to her room. "Prez, you're hitting the gym again?" Setsuna asked with Hananuki and Tetsu behind her. "Yeah, it's the same thing again," she replied. "Want to grab a bite?" It wasn't much of a suggestion, seeing that they had the look in their faces saying that they won't take no for an answer. "Oh, no thanks. I'm quite busy," Kendo replied, grabbing her gym bag. "Really? You've been hitting the gym quite a lot lately. Seems like other than class and the dorms, that's where you tend to go a lot lately." "Well, I tend to get started for the provisional exam." She grabs her bag and begins to take her leave before Setsuna stops her. "Prez," Setsuna grabs a hold of her hand before she leaves. "You know you could talk to us, right? You don't have to keep things to yourself." Truth be told, they were getting worried about her. Ever since the day of Izuku's funeral, she has been quiet and changed. Of course, when it comes to school duty and in class, she always acts like her usual self, the big sister of Class B. But those who were close to her could tell that she was always alone whenever class was over and rarely hung out. "Thanks, but I'm fine," Kendo assured them before she took her leave. She grabbed her gym bag and closed the door from where she came out and sighed before making her way out to the gym. She could have gone and taken their offer, seeing that she was quite hungry herself. But at this moment, hunger is the last thing that comes to her mind. Every day, it's always like this for her. Training and nothing else for her. Because deep in her mind, she knows that this is what she had to do to get some closure for Izuku. She needs to help carry out what he was starting when he entered the school. She headed to the exit door and saw the sight of Izumi, Momo, and Hatsum all waiting in front of the gate. From their expression, it seems like they had their concern as well, just like her class. "Kendo, you're hitting the gym again today?" "Yeah, just a quick workout, that's all," she replied, feeling like she was just repeating the same answer when she was up there in her class. "Do you feel like you want to go shopping? We're heading to Kiyaki Mall right now." Of course, Kendo finds it weird with their destination. Since when does Hatsum tend to abandon her workshop and head to the mall to get a makeover? It was one thing with Izumi and Momo since they paid attention to their appearance, but it was a different case with Hatsum. "No thanks. I'm quite busy," she politely refused, but didn't sit well with Izumi. "Kendo, when's the last time you took a break?" Izumi straight up asked. Kendo frowned. "What do you mean? We all ate lunch together, right?" "Not just lunch or something," Izumi said. "Like you've been working super hard, and it's all good, but we just want to make sure you're taking time for you too, you know? My workouts on my me time," Kendo replied. "Look," Momo came in between, trying to defuse the tension between them. "You're stressed. We all are. And we're all trying to deal with that in our own ways, but if you keep running like this, you're going to get hurt. We're all trying to be heroes, Yayorozu. Getting hurt is part of it. But if this keeps up, you will break down. Even we need to rest once in a while." The truth is, she can't afford to take a rest. She has too much on her plate right now. With her school duty, her karate training, her parents, hero training for the provisional exam, and her plan to expose the class, she had too many things on her plate right now that she couldn't afford to relax for a moment. As the class president, she was accustomed to handling multiple tasks simultaneously while still managing her class. It's not because he got used to it after taking the job, but it's more like she was a person who was willing to bear responsibility and work her way up. So when they decided they helped carry out Izuku's plan, she was more than ready to take it. But deep in her heart lies a wound inflicted that day 2 months ago. A wound so deep that it took even more than 2 months just to recover. That somehow Izuku's missing presence is keeping her down even to this day. Excuse me. They all turned and saw who was calling for them, and a red-haired teen was standing near the door entrance holding a can of coffee in his hand. His dominating height, combined with his sturdy, muscular physique, easily leaves an impression of a competent athlete on others. I take it that you were at Suka Kendo, right? The one from Class B? He asked. Yeah. Who's asking? Kendo asked, wondering how this stranger knew her name. Oh, I didn't get to introduce myself. He extended his hand for a handshake while smirking at her. My name is Hattori Kenji. Izuku had told me a lot about you. Neither girls had expected how today was going to go down. They had plans right from the start, and even already talked about it on the group message chat. Go to school, study, take the exam, and once school is over, invite Kendo for a trip and have a talk with her about her situation. They have it all figured out and are trying to talk her out of it, and even have plans in case she won't budge to their request. Everyone is on board. Even Hatsum is taking a day off just to have this trip and has abandoned her work at the studio. But no one had suspected that a red-haired teen had just come and interrupted their plan and invited them to have a walk after he had just announced that he knew Izuku. They already left UA school grounds about an hour ago and are now walking on the abandoned residence area in Yuzudafu, part of the city. It used to be filled with many residents living there, but some time ago, there was a villain attack, and crimes kept rising exponentially, which caused the whole neighborhood to be left abandoned. Kendo and the rest of the girls were walking behind, following Kenji, who was leading the way. He hasn't said much after coming to them, but other than telling them that he knew Izuku and he needed them to come with him. You haven't said anything in a while. Where are we going? I have never been to this neighborhood. Kendo asked Kenji, who was in front. Not just her, but the rest of them had no idea where they were right now. They could tell that the neighborhood is filled with many hoodlums and delinquents of all ages. It's not as crowded as they expected, but they could still spot 1 or 2 people looking at them for wearing a UA school uniform, or because they were all girls who entered this area. Not to mention that it's not the place where a bunch of schoolgirls should be hanging out in the first place. And yet they continued to walk following Kenji's lead. Do you have one of those bullies at school? The ones who think that they were at the top of the hill and could do anything. Kenji opened up the conversation, sliding to a topic of his own out of nowhere. Yeah, Hatsum answered, not sure where the topic is heading. Well, the truth is, those bullies in school we consider to be babies in society. Because they were still living in society, the dangerous kind are the ones on the outside. Kenji spoke, turning his head behind him. They're the ones who the school can't contain. People think that villains or corrupt government are the worst kind of people, and the kind of villains you heroes put away. But the ones who are dangerous are those who are on the edge of the cliff, waiting to fall and drop into villainy. When they feel like all hope is lost. Why are you telling us this? You asked where we were, right? Kenji stopped his track and asked her. This is where those people live and gather. The dens of those monsters. Then why are you bringing us here? And how did you know Izuku? Izumi went on to ask. It felt like they were leading them to a trap or something. It's because it's easier for me to tell you when we're not in your school or within earshot, Kenji replied and resumed taking a step, and they reluctantly followed. Finally, they arrived on what appears to be a broken-down apartment platform. It looks pretty run down and not in good condition, but people still live there, and they were climbing up on the 3rd floor before arriving at the front door, and he knocked on the door. Who is it? Someone replied from behind the door. From the sound, it was quite rough. It's me. I brought visitors. Kenji replied, and right away, the door is opened, and someone comes to open the door, for it to be a big, bulky teen with long gray hair and brown eyes, bearing a resemblance to a beast. He eyed Kenji for a moment, then shifted his gaze to the 4 girls behind him before addressing the situation in hand. Since when have you brought visitors? And not to mention, they were all girls. Are you out of your mind? He angrily scolded Kenji, thinking what kind of idea that stuck in his head just now. Hey, take it. Easy, run. And not what you think. I invited them because we all need to talk. Huh? Run, the gray-haired teen, looked in confusion before he turned and saw Kendo and the rest behind her, as he noticed the blazer they were all wearing was from UA. Right away, he somehow understands what Kenji is saying and turns to him. You really want to do this now? It's been 2 months, plus we need their help just as much as they need us, Kenji replied. Rin scoffs before he thinks about it for a moment, and he concedes. Fine, get inside. Kenji took his way to enter the apartment as the rest of the girls looked at each other, wondering if they were about to take the invitation or not. From the looks of it, they were currently in some rough parts of the city filled with many hoodlums and all kinds of criminals. While they were trained to be a hero, and none of them are short in combat, they were currently standing in a hornet nest, and their only option was either to go deep into the nest or poke the hornet themselves. Seeing their option, they decided to enter the apartment following Kenji, who brought them here in the first place. Upon entering, they found themselves in a surprisingly tidy room with a kitchen and TV in store. The tatami floor there complements the old-style atmosphere they have in the room, and they spotted 5 futons lying on the tatami floor with 3 different people in the room. The first one is Kenji, who invited them in the first place, and there's also the gray-haired teen named Run, whom they just met at the door after letting them in. And there's someone who looks the tallest among the group. He has blonde hair that covers the left side of his face and red eyes. He also wears a long-sleeve prison-like shirt with the number 24 on it, red pants, and black-white sneakers. On the side of the bathroom, there is someone who's sitting on the tatami wearing a cold, dangerous expression and the shortest in the group. He is short, straight black hair styled in an undercut curtain, as well as narrow, intimidating, dull gray eyes with dark circles under them. He wears a black parachute jacket, a plain red shirt, and black sweatpants. And standing in the kitchen is the only female besides them. She looks young, around their age. A beautiful teen with a slender yet curvaceous physique, a big bust, and regular height. She has very pale skin, large light blue eyes that can turn orange while gaining a triskill, and long silver hair reaching her waist. The tall teen addressed their new guest, who entered their apartment wearing a smug look on his face. Who? Who are these ladies you're bringing? They're from UA. I invited them because we need to talk. Kenji replies, having already had the same conversation with Rin just now. That doesn't mean that I agree to it, Rin replied. I know that they are from UA, but what gave you the right to bring them here? Because we're stuck just like them. Kenji replied, and besides, Akira already agreed to it with me. Yeah, but I didn't expect you to ask women for help. Akira, the tall blonde guy, replied. Both Kenji and Rin are having their argument as Kendo and the rest of them watch what's happening in front of them. They were thinking that they were out of place when the girl who came from the kitchen walked up close to them, and she took a closer look at them. Hey, aren't you that Izumi girl from the sports festival? The girl asked, which broke the argument that they were having in the background. Izumi? That Izumi. Izuku's sister. Hearing Izuku's name being mentioned, Izumi can't help but join in on the conversation as well. Wait, you all knew Izuku? She asked, and then remembered something that Izuku told her before. Are you guys the runaway kind that he was talking about? He told you about us? Rin asked incredulously. Well, not in whole. Just that he was living in the street after being kicked out. Izuku is living on the street? He never told us about it. Well, it happened before he entered UA, and things were quite complicated back then. And when are you going to tell us about it? So, are these people his friends? Kenji, what are you trying to do by bringing them here? Back up. You're saying that you people know Izuku? Oi, what's going on here, Kenji? Rin, come on, don't be too hard on him. Bam! A loud sound comes from the tatami floor as the shortest among the group is glaring at them coldly, thus ending their conversation upon seeing them. That's enough. Since it's obvious that they were here already, we should help explain things to them. He responded while staring coldly at the group, which scares them a little. Oh, I'm all right. Rin nodded and took his seat on the tatami floor, and Kenji, along with Akira, followed. Kendo and the rest of them also took their seat on the tatami floor, making one big circle as they were about to explain things over. The girl then came from the kitchen and served everyone in the room a cup of tea as Kendo and the rest took their offer. The space is quite small, so they were all cramped in the room with barely any space to move while sitting on the tatami floor. All right, Let me introduce myself first. My name is Kaido. He answered, that big guy is Run, this is Akira, and the girl over there is Misaki. And obviously, you already met Kenji. We're all runaway kids, just as you know from Izuku. And Izuku used to live here with us. He did. Hatsum asked, quite shocked by this information, just like everyone in the room. Of course, some of them knew that Izuku had run away from his house and disappeared for 10 months before he resurfaced at UA, but they had no idea where he was going. Yeah, we found him outside of a convenience store after getting him handed by some delinquent. Rin over there took him and brought him to us. Well, he was soaked in rainwater and pretty much starved back then, so Rin took him here and asked what happened, and he just straight up told us that he ran away from his house and said that he had nowhere else to go. We didn't get into the details and offered him a place here pretty much. Is it kind of regular here? Accepting someone blindly like that? Hatsum asked, since it's pretty much not wise to just accept someone they didn't know to live under the same roof as everyone. We all have our own stories of how we're in this place to begin with. We didn't ask why, and we kind of just trust one another eventually. Kaido replied. Besides, Rin sees him as a good kid, so we pretty much just accepted him till he's ready to open up about him, Misaki added. While living here, he began to help out with our work or get a part-time job from time to time to earn some money, and he began to learn a bunch of stuff about mechanics and computers. Akira over there used to work as a mechanic, so he taught him a couple of things. Plus, the kid is quite a hassle. It took him a couple of tries before he could invent some stuff, Akira complained. Any others? The fighting? Izumi asked, noticing how well he performed during the sports festival and even when fighting Stain and Hosu. He had to learn of it. He had no choice. Kenji responds to Izumi's question, you can't survive in this kind of place if you can't throw a punch. This place is the den of monsters that hasn't been released on society, and there's no authority here to come and save us, except cops who just make an easy arrest of kids. It's every men and women for themselves. How can this be? That's just not right. Momo spoke, wondering how something like this could be overlooked for so long. It's how the world works, princess. Akira quipped. You ever wonder why cops spend so much time in neighborhoods like this? It's 'cause the arrests are easy. Hell, I've lost count of the number of times I've seen rookie heroes brought here and taught. This is what a junkie looks like, and this is what a dealer looks like. And from that moment on, that's how cops see us. And heroes never bother to come here because it only made them look bad patrolling in a place like this, seeing us as a lost cause. We have to fend for ourselves in a place like this. If not, then we won't survive. But we're not violent or anything who likes to attack first, but we do it to protect ourselves and our group. It's a lot of information being handed to them in such a short period of time. How Izuku is used to living on the street with a bunch of runaway kids in this kind of environment. That explains how he was able to gain extensive knowledge in the support course. So, how did you know that I'm his sister? Izumi asked. We watched your performance at the sports festival on how he demolished that Bakuga kid and put him in that cage for the crimes he committed back then. Kaido responds while glancing at their guest. Those who were in the know or participated were all tense upon hearing Kaido's response. Yeah, we know what you guys did, Akira smirks, looking at them, and not just Akira, but everyone in the room had their eyes on their guest. Those who were once in class, and were a little tense with their gaze upon them if they were eyeing a prey. Of course, being that Izuku had lived here for around 10 months, it's bound for him to tell them what happened. Know about what? About the 10 years he had lived in your house, and how your friends in class were the thorn in his life. Aldera, Bakugu, everything. If they weren't tense about being brought into this neighborhood and entering a stranger's apartment under the guidance of someone who knows Izuku's name, they would surely be scared of someone outside of UA knowing about what they did before entering UA. Of course, both Izumi and Momo have already come to terms with it, but it's still nerve-wracking to know someone else will learn of it. He told us before entering UA how he planned for his revenge to make you all pay. Hell, he even went ahead and bribed the principal for a seat at the table. Kaido replied, while continuing to speak, but what he didn't expect was that you too would turn over a new leaf, even though he didn't expect it. So, I take it you all have been helping Izuku from behind then? Kendo went on to ask, reverting the conversation to why they came here in the first place. Akira glances at Kendo, Being the one who's closest in the group? I take it you're Itsuka Kendo, right? Yes, Kendo replied. Akira smirks before he replies. Izuku told us about you quite often. Wait, he did? About what? Kendo blushed, wanting to know what he was talking about her. Oh, a little of this, a little of that, Akira said airily while giving her a coy smirk. Akira, stop that. Misaki lightly smacked his shoulder, but as he said before, we're the ones who helped him from behind. Some might say that we're Izuku's shadow. So why do you come to bring us here? Kendo asked, getting into the topic. For what I can tell, you all have been helping him in silence and been doing what he's asking, right? I take it the Aldera website was your doing too, right? She catches on pretty quickly. Akira playfully replied. So why did you come to us? From what I can tell, you all seem pretty good with this stuff, and yet you come to us and are in need of our help. Kaido sighed, because Izuku's plan is already in motion without us knowing, and we have no choice but to run it. All of them were quite stunned upon hearing it. Izuku's plan? What are they talking about? It doesn't make sense. Izuku is already gone, so what was planned that he set in motion that they were talking about? Izuku's plan? What are you talking about? Not just Kendo, but everyone in the room seemed to leave with a question about what they were talking about. Even Hatsum, who's in cahoots with him, also had no idea what this plan they were talking about. 2 months ago, Izuku asked me to investigate something regarding All Might. He asked me to pull out everything I can find about him, from his activity both in and out of UA, to everyone he's ever been associated with or known in the last 20 years. Heroes, civilians, kids during a meet and greet show, alumni, everyone, down to even a convenience store employee, he visits once. Kenji went on with the explanation this time, leading the conversation. Then one day, he asked me to find a purchase order made by Tashinori Yagi for 50 feet of sod delivered to your house when you were still in diapers. It was a receipt about 15 years old. All of a sudden, he asked for the company to be delivered to your house and said it in just one day. Said it's urgent. Do you have any idea what it's all about? Hatsum asked, hoping they had the slightest clue. No clue. Kenji shrugs. Izuka didn't get into the details about it, said it was personal. But the strangest thing happened to the company after he made the purchase. The company went bankrupt and shut down due to tax evasion, and the CEO was found dead in prison just 2 months after being put there. That can't be a coincidence. Momo points out, and the statement that Izuku made on the sports festival got nullified because of All Might, and the reporter is manipulating the news, clearing Class A from suspicions. Now we're kicked back to the beginning. Akira scowled in annoyance. So what is the plan you're talking about? Kendo asked. I'm talking about what Izuku had discovered that made him perish in that accident. If my guess is right, then what Izuku found out that day is so dangerous that he was murdered that day. It was the key to restarting this whole case back on those Class A and All Might. His plan of his, that's his dying message. So we need to follow his trail and continue. Yeah, the problem is we don't know how or what do we investigate in the first place. Rin smacked his forehead in tired manner. I don't know if he kept a notebook or a diary, or maybe on a laptop or something, but there has to be a paper trail that leads to it. The notebook. Maybe he kept it in there. Momo spoke in realization. She remembers how he always wrote in his notebook. Maybe he kept his notes of what he was doing there. Could be. Where's the notebook at right now? Kenji asked. In my room. I took it for safekeeping after his room was emptied. Izumi replied, remembering how she kept the notebook when they were trying to clear his room. Good. Then you need to scribble those pages and find something that can be put to use. But knowing Izuku, he won't just write on a piece of paper like that. There's bound to be code or something. Kenji handed her his phone, showing his contact info. Send me the picture so we can help decipher or find something useful for you guys to follow. Here's my contact info. And we only converse on the phone and never meet in public unless we have to. Then we'll go here. And why can't we just go to a cafe or meeting somewhere far from our dorms? It's kind of a hassle, every time we have to come here. Izumi asked, wondering why they had to come here other than to meet with Izuku's other family. Instead of Kenji, who responded to her question, it was Kaido. Tell me, do you actually trust your school? In general, I meant, not just the whole institute, but the teachers over there. What? What are you talking about? Of course, we trust our school. If you think you can start throwing around accusations, then How about we throw around some facts? You've had 2 villains attack in just a single semester, a full set of students roaming in a single class, all involved with bullying case worth 10 years. A student went to prison because of a lack of background check from the school institute. 1 kidnapped student by the latest villain attack. And if you think anybody believes that UA weren't a party to that cover-up, think again. Of course, Izumi wasn't blind. She knew full well how she entered UA in the first place. Her father had played her record along with her friends, making sure that there was no evidence of her participating in bullying, and it earned her a spot at UA. Not just that, but her father had been sabotaging Izuku's performance back at the sports festival, including rigging the match and even going so far as to destroy his support equipment. No, he wouldn't, Izumi said. Her father may be, but surely Principal Nizu won't take part in it. I know Principal Nizu is not very nice and likes to spy on people, but he wouldn't try to keep something like this hidden from the media or be held responsible for something like that. Honestly, Izumi, you think all teachers are saints or something? Kendo snapped. I'm with them. I wouldn't put anything past Principal Nizu. However, we can't trust anyone not to rat this out. Izuku's demise could be from the UA staff for all we know. It could be from All Might or anyone in the school. So we kept this to ourselves. Never mentioned it to anyone outside the 4 of us. Momo replied, pointing to the group to keep held secrecy of this matter. Wait, I got a question. Kendo asked before this conversation was put to an end. Why are you guys going this far just for Izuku in the first place? The group went on to uncomfortable silence as the topic shifted towards them this time. So far, all of the topics have revolved around Izuku, mainly of his past and his future plan. They even covered the aftermath of what they were supposed to do, and yet somehow, they don't know why they were doing this. I can somehow understand the bond between you all for sticking together, but you guys went ahead and helped Izuku despite knowing this could backfire on all of you, and even up to now, when you don't have to. Worst case scenario, you could get arrested, so I want to know why you went all this way. They held their silence before Misaki decided to speak up while holding an unwavering smile. It's because of the same reason you all came here in the first place. Ever since we came here, it's always been the same thing for all of us. Whether we face some unfair circumstances or crazy situations, we're the first in line to face those kinds of unfair situations where the game is rigged right from the start, but not him. Once he cools down, he's bound to win at the right time. Even if he's gone or with us, Izuku won't lose. He never depends on anyone because he doesn't want us to get caught in his problem, and he's never worried to get his hands dirty to keep those around him safe. It's why we all put our trust and effort in him. I believe in Izuku Midoriya. We all do. Upon hearing their answer, the group is more than convinced to partake in this request, not just by their answer, but also because these are the people that Izuku had trusted in time, so it's only natural that they can trust them. Both groups continued talking, learning more about Izuku's past from the time he was a runaway kid, and talking to each other. And the time came for them to leave, seeing that the curfew was getting closer to them. They didn't want to leave, but Kaido pointed out that they needed to keep up appearances for now. As Kendo and the rest head out, Kenji says, "Hey, I know that we're all new to you people, but we appreciate that you're willing to do this." "Thank you. It's all the same for us," Kendo replied. "Oh, one last thing. It's best that you guys don't mention our name in public, just in case. You can call us by our code names," Kenji suggested. "Code names?" Izumi raised her brow. "It's what we used when we played online games. My code name is Colombar, by the way." He gave a cheeky grin, introducing his code names. "I'm Romario," Akira spoke. "My code name is Petunia, from the flowers," Misaki said. "Mine is Longhorn," Run raised his hand. The rest of the group turns to Kaido, who's the only one who didn't give his code names to the newcomers. They were all waiting for him to give it to them, but Kaido didn't budge. "I'm not giving you mine," Kaido plainly said, refusing to go along with this endeavor. "Oh, come on, this is supposed to be secrets and all that stuff," Kenji argued. "And how are they supposed to use the word Colombar in a sentence to make it less suspicious?" Kaido asked, knowing how stupid they're going to look speaking these peculiar words. "Hey, I like my code names, by the way. I'm sorry if mine isn't as less attracting and sounds cool, just like Izuku or yours." Kenji scowls, knowing how jealous he was. "Just use our names to have a chat," People might think we're friends from another school or something, Kaido replied, shutting down Kenji's stupid codename suggestion. Good luck, Kenji says as he closes the door. Kendo and the groups nods a bit, a new sense of direction instilled in her. Now she knows exactly what she has to do. Deep in thought, they headed back to UA to finish what Izuku had started. On the apartment door, Kenji closed the door behind him and sighed while looking at the rest of the residents behind him. You think that they're capable? Akira went on to ask. They had heart, but planning and execution are two different things. Kaido responds, Well, I'm hungry. What for dinner? Rin went on to ask. His stomach had grumbled from all the talk before. How about curry then? Misaki said. Sounds good, Rin replied, and made his way to the kitchen to help Misaki with the cooking. Soon, one by one, they began to fix the table for dinner, Kenji being the last one who left his eyes from the door, eyeing where Kendo's group had left just now. I hope you know what you're doing. Izuku. A week has passed since the day Kendo and the group met with Izuku's friend, and they've been trying to find out of the dying message that Izuku had left regarding what he's investigating that caused his demise 2 months ago. After they returned from Kenji's apartment, they headed to Izumi's room to find his notebook, where he used to write a bunch of stuff regarding hero analysis and ideas for his support items. There are 13 notebooks that he's made ever since he was 4 years old, so all the notebooks were accounted for. But after careful scribbling of each notebook, they found no signs of his investigation at all. They even brought the notebooks to Hatsum's lab to see if he might have written it in invisible ink, but after inspection, there was no writing at all in the notebook. Hatsum had shown the notebook with a black light, and there was no hidden writing at all, which left them stuck. So Hatsum had an idea: if there's no solution in science, then they just have to go technological. Hatsum then brought the notebooks into her workshop and placed them in her computer for her algorithm to crack. She figured that within those notebooks lies a code or a key that could lead them to what he's investigating. Flashback start. You sure that this algorithm of yours is even going to work? Kendo asked, looking at the algorithm on her computer, trying to crack the code from Izuku's notebook. Of course, I tested this baby myself before, and it can crack any code that's given, Hatsum replied proudly. And how many times that it failed? Momo asked, throwing a side glance. Only 2, Hatsum replied, before she paused. Okay, maybe 3. Anyway, let's get this started, Izumi replied, as the computer began to scan the notebook pages and began to decipher them, using all possible algorithms. The computer began to scan each word, writing pattern, handwriting quirk, every sentence, and friction on each letter to find something that could lead them to his message. It continued to decipher it as the screen continued showing a loading screen, analyzing the pattern. So, how long is this going to take? Best guess, I'd say about a month. Hatsum estimated the computer deciphered each word, finding if there's any corresponding message, so it's going to take a while. But I bet this baby will crack it wide for us. Hatsum spoke proudly of her invention, and it brings them reassurance to know. Flashback end. While they were waiting for Hatsum's computer to crack the code, they were on their way to take their provisional exam. Vlad King stood up from his seat at the front. Everyone get out. We're here. The students of Class B stepped off the bus and out onto the sidewalk. The exam building stood tall before them, awaiting their entry. Vlad King made sure all of the kids were out of the vehicle before addressing them. All right, this is the National Takoba Arena. Its simulated cities are similar to UA, so you all have at least a little bit of experience with real-life environments on your side. Here, you will not try to obtain your license. You will obtain your license. Understood? Yes, sir. The class all said simultaneously. Ugh, I'm getting kind of nervous. Kaibara groaned with some trepidation in his voice. Seriously, this is so stressful. Oh man, what if I can't get my license? Awaze began mumbling, while shaking Hananuki next to him. We'll be fine, guys. All of us have been training our butts off for this. There's no way that we're going to fail, Kendo said as she did her best to keep her classmates' spirits up. Tetsu decides to raise the morale of the class. Let's call out the old usual. Plus ultra. Tetsu's cheer was immediately interrupted by a tall, black-haired man with a deep voice. This caused the students to jump unexpectedly. The UA students turned around to look at the guy. He He was sporting a wide grin on his face and had a glazed-over look in his eye. Everyone was briefly stunned by the guy's actions. But just before they had a chance to ask him what he was doing, another group of students came walking up. "Inasa, it's rude to barge into someone else's huddle like that." A purple-haired boy with heavy bangs scolded him. "Right, sorry, sir." The man, now identified as Inasa, quickly apologized by quite literally slamming his head into the ground with an exaggerated bow. "I'm so extremely sorry. I just love UA so much." "Who is this guy?" I did not trust his enthusiasm. Rin asked, looking very confused. "Hey, check out their uniforms." Pony pointed out. "They're from Shiketsu." The black-haired boy stood back up, still sporting a smile, as a not-so-subtle stream of vital fluid began running down his face. "I wanted to say it just once. See, I really love UA. I'm extremely honored to be able to compete against you guys." As the Shiketsu group took their leave, one of them lingered for a second. It was a thin, blonde-haired girl who was a bit on the taller side. Her attention was focused solely on Izumi and nothing else. The strawberry blonde was staring at her hard, almost as if she were trying to look directly into her soul. What a bunch of characters. Setsuna folded her arms with a bit of amusement. "Yeah, especially that tall dude." Hananuki glances at the tall, hot-headed student. "Inasa Yurashi," Vlad King said. "You know that guy, sensei?" Izumi asked. Yes, he received the second highest score for students admitted through recommendations. But for some reason, he turned down his acceptance to UA and went to Shiketsu instead. If he had the second highest score for those who got in through recommendations, then that means he's only a step below Izuku and even got higher than Hananuki and Setsuna. Kendo thought, with a bit of amazement. That would mean that Yurashi was pretty powerful. "Vlad, you arrive." Aizawa calls out to his fellow homeroom teacher and greets him. Behind Aizawa-sensei are the members of Class A, all ready to take their exam for today as well. "Aizawa, you're late." "That's unusual." Vlad looks at his watch, finding that he's late by about 3 minutes from the schedule. Normally, he would tend to be on time. "Sorry, Vlad." Schofield-sensei insisted that he wanted to come. Being he's also the heroics teacher, he wants to come and observe the student's performance. Aizawa explained, and Schofield-sensei came from a last bus that they had taken. "Oh, not to worry. I only came to wish you luck." Schofield-sensei replied in a broken Japanese sentence. "Schofield-sensei, are you going to watch us too?" Momo asked. "Sure. Since I'm already here, I'm going to watch you guys," he replied in Japanese. Momo paid attention that his Japanese is getting more fluent by the day. "Hey, Schofield-sensei," Tetsu suddenly shouted. "You got any tips and tricks for us to know before the exam?" The new teacher rubbed his chin in thought for a moment before deciding to answer. He knew that he really shouldn't be telling them this, and that they couldn't rely on him for guidance during the actual exam. But he didn't really see a problem with giving his pupils some pointers. "Well, my suggestion is that you all should work together to get your license. There's no such thing as a lone hero after all," Schofield-sensei replied. "Oh, you're right, sensei. Everyone, let's work together and pass this exam as a whole class." Tetsutetsu raised his fist in the air to cheer. "What a joke." Katsumi scoffs before she walks away and heads to the exam. As the students began brainstorming possible scenarios and strategies for what they now knew was coming their way, Vlad King couldn't help but smile at how seriously they all were taking this. "We'd better head inside, too. I want you all to do your best, you hear me?" The blood-themed hero told his students. "Yes, sir." Afterward, they entered the building filled with thousands of students waiting inside. There are over 100 schools coming from across Japan, and all of them are coming here to earn their hero license to become a hero. They gathered in front of a huge dome hall where a representative from the Hero Commission came and announced the exam rules firsthand. The proctor then explains that there are about 1,540 students in attendance for orientation. The exam used to have a 50% passing rate for participants. However, the exam was modified to be much more exclusive in its vetting process, and now, less than 5% of students can pass. The exam has a new focus on speed while encouraging teamwork and communication between participants. The new version of the exam hopes to only entitle the best students available in order to fill the gap left behind by All Might after his retirement. For the first phase of the exam, examinees must place 3 targets on their bodies. They can put the targets anywhere on their body they want, as long as it's an exposed area, so armpits and the bottoms of their feet are off limits. Each examinee is also given 6 orange balls. A target will light up red if it's hit by one of the balls. If all 3 targets are hit by a ball, that student is eliminated. Students are free to use their quirks as much as they want and however they please. After the proctor had finished explaining the rules, everyone began to scramble away from their position and headed to the terrain where the exam was going to take place. Well, that's a first. Izumi yelled out as the walls of the room they were in fell, and the arena was open to the students. All of the students from other schools began to immediately disperse to different areas and attach the sensor pads to their bodies. Izumi began putting on his sensor pads. Everyone, stick together. The other schools won't be attacking their own classmates with quirks that they know how to work together with. We need to do the same. The rest of them began to wear their pads and make their way in the area as a single group, with Izumi and Kendo leading the charge of the group. Hey, should we split up and try to take out the other classes? No, that's too risky. We'll be picked off one by one. But staying in a large group such as this would be too risky. Izumi contradicts her decision, knowing that staying like this would put a huge target on them. Then we'll split up, Kendo announces, taking charge of the decision. We'll split into 2 groups and go in a different direction, split evenly between power, capture, and speed type in each group to stay balanced. Soon, the group decided to split up, with Izumi heading to the left with Kororo, Kaibara, Kamakiri, Yui, Ibara, Tsuruba, Momo, Hananuki, Kinoko, and Fukudashi. Kendo decided to head to the right with Shishida, Setsuna, Tetsu, Rin, Pony, Shota, Awaze, Bondo, Reiko, and Monoma. Up in the stands, Aizawa took a seat beside Vlad, watching as his class had decided to go in a different direction, but as 2 groups, that's pretty smart. Splitting between 2 groups. In an all-out brawl like this, joining in a large group would put a bigger target on everyone, and their mobility gets compromised, which could cause great harm in an exam like this. But if you move all by yourself, then it would be too dangerous for them because they lack numbers. I figured this is either Kendo's or Izumi's strategy, and they split the team quite evenly between attack, defense, capture, and mobility. Not only that, but the team is also divided equally between the girls and boys, so there's no difference. Plus, with Izumi and Kendo leading the pack, they're sure going to come victorious. Aizawa looked down at the arena as they stared at Vlad's class performance. Ibra was catching balls with her quirk. Kamakiri was slashing the balls with his blade before they reached the others. Awaze used his quirk to bind the other students on their track and attack with the others. Izumi shot off blasts of air at the capture balls as Momo created riot shields to fend off against the balls heading in there. Class. Their coordination is quite perfect, and they have great moves. Aizawa compliments. In America, heroes tend to team up to quickly get the job done and improve their efficiency in either capturing a villain or conducting a rescue. I guess in Japan, things work the same. Huh? Schofield-sensei added. Back in the arena, Shindo scrunched up his face in confusion, mainly looking at Izumi's outperforming everyone outside of her class. What the heck was that? Her quirk is both a strength enhancement and telekinesis. That's kind of scary. It doesn't matter, his classmate near him said. He grabbed a bundle of capture balls and turned them harder than concrete. He tossed them to Kido, who set his targets. He threw them underground and sent them towards Izumi's group, who saw the balls go underground and knew what to do. Hananuki, the balls. On it, Hananuki placed his hand on the ground, which softens the ground, slows the trajectory of the balls that are headed their way before they hit them. The capture balls were now visible to the class. Tsuburaba uses his quirk to trap the balls in their tracks, while Momo uses her sword to slice through the rest. Izumi and Ibra used their long reach to grab as many capture balls as they could and hand them out to their classmates. Momo created an air cannon and loaded capture balls inside. Everyone take the offensive. Izumi descended below and saw the group of students making their way and ready to attack, and quickly she dashed forward and threw a gust of wind by swinging her kick, sending them away. Momo glances at her leg, taking note that she has some kind of new leg protector around her boots, almost like iron-soled boots. "Izumi, what is that?" Momo asked, pointing at her new boots. "Oh, these are my new shoes. I asked Hatsum to make one, and she said that she gave the project to Yuriita, and I have to admit that it's working well." Shindo smirked. "They've changed since the festival. Their defense is too strong. Let's get them split up." He cracked his knuckles and placed his hands on the ground. Maximum force. Shindo activated his quirk, and the terrain crumbled before everyone's eyes. Izumi realized what he was trying to do and acted a second too late before she fell on the ground from Shindo's quirk. "Izumi!" Kendo, who was on the other side of the group, also shouted as her group fell on the pavement below. "Ugh, is everyone all right?" Izumi dragged herself out of the rubble. Her class dropped to the ground and patted the dirt and rubble off their outfits. Momo came up to Izumi. "We're all right. Is everyone accounted for?" "I think so. I don't see Kendo's group with us, so she must have separated during the fall. Do you kids even want to pass?" "How has no one?" "Wait, what's that?" The proctor's voice came from the intercom before he held his word. Izumi felt the wind pick up and looked over to the city district. A whirlwind flowed through the streets and buildings, with captured balls across the skies. 1, 7, 36, 75, 120. 120 students have just been eliminated by one fighter. Kaibara broke the silence of the class. "Why do I get the feeling that was that Inasa guy?" Hananuki nodded, "Probably. But at least that means we don't have to worry about him anymore." Izumi began climbing further up the rocks. "We should move before the rest get here." "Izumi move?" Momo jumped up and yanked Izumi down. A jumpsuited girl leapt over Izumi and landed on top of a small ridge. I was so close. I totes had that." Izumi stood back up. "Thanks, Momo. She would have gotten me." She looked up at the assailant. "It's the girl from Shiketsu, Kami Utsushimi. And you're that cutie from out front, Izumi Yagi." She eyed the green-haired girl with hunger in her eyes. "And the rest of you are all her classmates. With how chaotic this exam is, people will go after the ones they know the most about. I want to know all about the other schools, and I figured UA would be the first to bite it. So I needed to find you guys quickly. I want to know everything. I'm very interested in you, especially. Is this chick a Yandra lesbian or something?" Tsubiraba whispered to Hananuki, who was beside him. "You talk too much." Izumi powered up her one for all, ready to strike her. Shouldn't you be more afraid? There are about a dozen of us, and only one of you." Kaibara and the rest of the class readied their capture balls to throw at her. "Nah. Everyone's so desperate to not get one of their weak spots taken out. You'll all get scared when I do this." Kami chucked a capture ball straight at the group, and true to her word, everyone tried to stay far away from it. Izumi shook her head in disappointment. "F it. We fell for it." She looked back towards Kami and saw that she had disappeared. "Oh no, where did she go? Look out." Momo warned her and spotted Kami somehow already behind Izumi and held one of the capture balls in her hand, ready to hit her rear, before Momo smacked her hand with her metal baton. "Oh, that was so close." Kami shakes her head playfully. "You're pretty good yourself. And you've got a great body as well." She licked her lips in a naughty manner. "Is this chick looking for a three-way lesbian partner?" Tsubiraba shouted desperately and began to imagine how this chick, along with Izumi and Momo, would engage in a steamy activity before she got whipped in the head by Ibra. "How lewd." Ibra scolded. "Momo." Everyone turned to see Kami and Momo tumbled down from a ridge. Momo pinned her down on the ground. "Izumi, tag her out. I have to use both hands or she'll break free." Momo told her while keeping her on the ground. "Oh man, why can't that be me?" Tsubiraba shouted in jealousy, and she earned another slap in the head from Ibra once more. "Isn't that a little biased?" Kami said, still with an unworried tone. "Just be quiet." "Okay, but what about them?" "What do you mean?" Momo and the rest of the class looked up to see that the Ketsubetsu students had finally found them. "Wash." While Momo was distracted, Kami broke free, whipped around, and scratched Momo's cheek. She leaped over and began to rush away, and Ketsubetsu began their assault. Slings, concrete, spiderwebs, and all types of quirks flew in their direction. Izumi boosted to 15%, and did her best to keep her friends out of the way of any capture balls being hurled at them. They were back on the defensive and essentially in a pit. They needed a plan fast. Izumi looked around at her classmates and tried to figure out who could help them out of the situation. She was at a loss until he saw Hananuki, and a light bulb lit in her mind. Hananuki! She caught his attention as he was trying to sink a couple of students with his quirk. Can you sink them in one sweep? Hananuki turns his head over to her. It's not that easy. I need a clear line of sight before I can sink them. I can cover you, Izumi told him, and she glanced at Kinoko, who had also happened to hide near them, along with Fukudashi. Kinoko, can you use your quirk to attack them? I can shroom, Kinoko replied. Okay, that leave Momo till she glances around and finds the heiress is missing from the area. Where's Momo? Izumi went on and asked, wondering where she is. I haven't seen her. Maybe she was hiding elsewhere or fighting with that chick. Hananuki replied. Then, Fukudashi, can you attack them? Trying to separate them? He gave a thumbs-up response, as they were all ready to counter back against the assault. Okay, let's go, Izumi shouted, enacting their plan. Fukudashi then began to attack, launching onomatopoeia all around the arena from midair, surprising the Ketsubutsu students, who were all running to avoid getting crushed. This gave them a chance to attack back as Kinoko began to use her quirk, and the mushroom began to spread around the arena and even reached the Ketsubutsu students, surprising them. What's this? One of the students tried to shake off his hand and pluck the mushroom out, but it only spread it further down. Taking their panic state, Hananuki began to sink the other students with his quirk, plunging them down on the ground as they were sinking, trying to get themselves free while the others were getting trapped by Izumi, who used her telekinesis quirk to trap them midair. Beep, beep, beep. Two of the students who sank looked down to see all of their weak point sensors flashing, and they spotted a bunch of capture balls flying midair from Izumi's quirk and began hitting their weak point, eliminating them on the spot. All right, we've passed. All three of them cheered, raising their hands midair as they heard from the proctor that they had passed the first part of the exam. You guys headed out first. I'm going to find the others and help them, Izumi replied, intentionally leaving her 1 point before passing the exam, and leaped over using one for all to find the rest of her classmates. Kendo dropped down on the ground, glancing to her left and right, finding that she was being separated from the rest of her class. It's way too dangerous for them to be fighting alone with no backup. The others could ambush her within seconds. Izumi heard grunting coming from a large pile of rocks. There must be someone who got stuck behind there. Kendo hopped her way over to the rocks and walked around them to find Momo, somehow trapped under the rubble. Momo? Momo was stuck against the rocks. Only one of her arms was free. Oh, hey, it's Suka. I accidentally got in the way. A little help? Momo calls out. Oh, sure. Kendo walked up to her and began helping her out, but was stopped for a moment as she spotted her all by herself. Where are the others? Momo glances around. We got separated because of that Ketsubutsu student's quirk. We need to regroup with the others before they spot us. Kendo replied while they continued walking. Yeah, we should, Momo replied, and then felt a beeping sound from her abdomen and saw one of the capture balls head over to her. Beep. She looked down to see Kendo pressing her capture ball to her weak point sensors. She kept going until she was completely out. Itsuka, what are you doing? There are millions of ways that Momo could get out of that rubble. Not to mention, she's not some damsel in distress who relies on others to help her. Plus, the real Momo won't ever call me Itsuka. Kendo eyed her while enlarging her right hand into a fist. So, who are you? Momo then broke into a chuckle and began to liquefy and melt before her. You knew that, yet you still were helping me. And it was for your advantage. Whether it helped me in the exam or not didn't matter. I would have helped you anyway. I couldn't just leave you there. Interesting. Very interesting. I wish I had the time to know you better. From a group came the students who met at the gate wearing the Shiketsu outfit. Her name is Kami Utsushimi. She shot forward and was about to lick her cheek, but was pulled back by a rain of lasers coming down on her. She turned around to see Mikomo launching a red energy laser from his hand, sending the girl packing. Well, look at here what I find, a bunch of girls all flirting here in the corner of the stadium. What a naughty scene. What are you doing here? Kendo said with a heavy blush. Yep. Cammy suddenly sat on a rock after avoiding that laser attack. It's too bad. Things were getting good. Cammy flipped away out of sight. Once he spotted that she's gone for good, Mikomo walked down to Kendo and greeted her. I believe the word you're looking for is thank you. What are you doing here? I thought you were in the business course. Kendo asked, wondering how he was able to take the exam. But then I got an invitation from the principal giving me a chance for a trial. He said if I perform well, then I could climb my way up the hero course. Figures, Kendo muttered. She was just about to take her leave before a hand slammed to the wall next to her, preventing her from getting away. Where are you going? Where else? To the exam ground. There's still time. Kendo responds, trying to get away from here as quickly as possible. It's not clever for you to be heading there all by yourself. Let's stay together. Mikomo suggested, trying to tease her. Yeah, no thanks. I'm good. Kendo had heard the rumors from the other class about how Mikomo likes to flirt with the ladies, and he was also quite the playboy within UA grounds, switching from one girl to another. Not to mention, he's kind of loose cannon and likes to pick a fight, so she would like to avoid that kind of attention right now. Oh, come on. He tried to rope her in and get close to her and pinning her behind the wall. I'm very interested in getting to know you, he smirks coyly in a flirtatious way. Plus, if you go alone right now, you might not pass the first exam. So what do you say? She hates to admit it, but right now she's on a time crunch. With only 100 students passing, she can't afford to fail at this stage, and she needs to pass the exam and get her hands on a hero license right now. Fine, but don't get any funny ideas. Kendo conceded and made her way to the arena. Come on, we have to hurry. Right away, Kendo. He comes along from behind while smirking, unnoticed by Kendo. Izumi sat down in the seat next to Momo in the waiting room for the students who passed or failed the first round. Of course, she passed just 5 minutes after she found Momo, and they both worked together with the rest of the class, and they both passed the exam. She passed her a cup of water and food from one of the tables. Oh, thank you. Here, have some. Izumi smiled and pushed the plate back to her. I'm fine. Besides, you need it much more than I do. Momo relented, knowing that the first exam took a lot of lipids out of her, and she needed to get her strength back to use her quirk for the second exam. Thanks, by the way. What happened to that girl from Shiketsu? Izumi looked around, noticing that she was not in the same group as the student who passed the first exam. If you're looking at her, she's right there. Momo pointed out to her right as Izumi looked up to see Cammy, fully clothed this time around, at the food table. The blonde looked up at Izumi and waved. Guess she didn't pass, huh? She looked to where she sat with a couple of students from Shiketsu who failed the first exam. Maybe, but I'm kind of glad to see her didn't. She gave me the creeps. I feel you. It's weird, though. She's very bold, but I'm fairly certain that kind of relationship is banned at Shiketsu. Maybe she had some interest in you, with your name as All Might's daughter. Don't remind me of that. Izumi placed her hand over her face, trying to forget how she is associated with her father. I still can't believe that he tried to get to talk to me after what happened. You had a conversation with him? More like an argument. He's still trying to get me to talk, trying to convince me that he wants the best for me. But I can't see him as anything but the one who's responsible for Izuku. You asked him? I did. And his response was that he didn't know a thing. But I can tell that he's lying. So, Izuku's friend that we met. Do you trust them? If Izuku trusts them, then that's more than enough for me. Izumi replied, but I can tell that it's going to be hard. I don't have to tell you that we can't tell this to any adult, not even to our parents. And what about our teachers? Principal Nizu? I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings with him and Aizawa-sensei. I mean, we got here in the first place because our record got scraped clean, but it's kind of weird if the principal didn't know about it. I know, especially Aizawa-sensei. Momo lamented, don't get me wrong, he's a bit harsh, but I can tell that he's got a good will to teach us. Hey, ladies, fancy seeing you two here. A voice came from behind, halting their conversation as they turned and recognized the voice. It was Mikomo, who was somehow able to enter the exam in the first place, seeing that he's on the business course. But what's surprising is that he's coming with Kendo, who had scowled all over her face, and her eyes avoided him. What are you doing here? Momo is the first one to ask, wondering why he took the exam. Well, long story short, I got offered by the school to take the exam, and here I am. And why are you coming with Kendo? Oh, I saved her from some chick who wears a shiketsu outfit. It was close seeing that they were alone, and now both of us were partners. We're not partners, Kendo pointed out, and I appreciate it if you gave yourself some space from me and my friends. Come on, Kendo-chan, I just helped you pass the first exam. The least you can do is be my friend. We're acquaintances at most. And stop calling me that. Kendo replied in an annoyed manner. Fine, fine. He lifted his hand in a surrendering manner. I'm going to get something to drink. See you later, Kendo-chan. He took his leave and made it to the food table, grabbing something to drink, and Izumi and Momo walked over to ask what was going on. What was that all about? Izumi went on to ask. I got caught in some situation, and he saved me from being eliminated, and he and I worked together to pass the first exam, Kendo replied. And what do you think of him? Momo asked, seeing that they had rarely seen him practice before. Well, he's pretty strong, and despite his attitude, he's got great control over his quirk and is smart in terms of strategy, Kendo replied, remembering how he pretty much took control of the fight when both of them were battling against the Ketsutsu students at the time. But I got this weird feeling with him, like something felt out of place. Kendo can't put her finger, but when she was battling with him, he felt like he was breaking his way through and trying to help her pass the exam despite he's being called a battle-loving maniac. Like he's looking out for him. KKRCH. While she was stuck in her train of thought, the walls of the waiting room suddenly collapsed, signaling that the second round had already started. She immediately rushes forward, readying herself for the second round. The second exam is about to commence. Please stand by. Tashinori is sitting at Tartarus Visitation Center, having come to pay a visit to the inmates there. He's sitting in a private room with no cameras or one-way mirrors where people could snoop in on their conversation. He took a seat, and just at the same time, the door from the prisoner's side opened, and he saw a familiar face coming from there. Katsuki walks out with a smirk on his face and wearing cuffs on his hands. Adding to that, there's a quirk-canceling bracelet on his right hand, preventing him from using his quirk inside. His messy, grayish prison uniform pairs with his ashen blonde hair. Unlike the last time someone paid a visit, he's more chirpy than before, smiling more than his usual self in here. The prisoner sits in the chair, relieved that he didn't have to speak through a phone this time, and Tashinori does the same after the guard closes the door. All might, how are you doing, my boy? Fine. Pretty much the same in here. Katsuki replied, remembering the same routine over and over again. It's always been the same thing with him staying in this prison. Wake up, have breakfast in the cafeteria, go to the courtyard, back in his cell, have lunch, head to his cell, another courtyard, and then lock up back to his cell. He always remembered to why he was staying within 4 walls of concrete and a metal door. It's because Deku is one cunning who trapped him in this place, whining to some loser, saying that he did something and come to complain instead of being a man and drop dead. I come bearing good news, my boy. Tashinori spoke, joining both his hands above the table. I managed to pull some strings from my time as All Might, and I might be able to give you an early release. Hearing the news, Katsuki couldn't help but light up. Release? As in gone? Gone from his cell? Gone from this trash place? Finally, he could get out of this place. Really? He immediately asked. It took some time, but they are working on it. If all goes well, you'll be out of here in less than 2 months. Tashinori confirms after talking with the HPSC board, convincing them that Bakugo has the potential to become a great hero. Now that Izumi has estranged herself from him and the house, Tashinori is left with no successor to help him train to become the next symbol of peace. The HPSC had pressured him into bringing his daughter back, but so far, she shows no sign of reconciling with him or even staying in the same room. So he offered a suggestion, saying that Katsuki Bakugo has the potential to become a great hero, and with his guidance and mentorship, he could make young Bakugo become the next symbol of peace. Now it's going to take some time, and there's a lot of legal documents to work on, but you're going to be out real soon, my boy. I haven't given up on you, my boy. Katsuki internally sighed. At least it would only last 2 months now, instead of years from now on. And when you're coming out? Tashinori continued to speak. I was looking for a successor, if you wish to accept it. Katsuki couldn't believe his ears, thinking that he might have misheard. Successor? as an All Might successor? It's what he's always dreamed of since he was a kid. Learning under the guidance of the greatest hero in Japan and becoming the #1 hero in the future. It's all that he's ever dreamed of. Wait, what about Izumi then? Unfortunately, my daughter has been distancing herself from me. She somehow blames me for my ex-stepson's death and has estranged herself from the house. Katsuki couldn't help but snort, finding how Izumi is kept clinging to Deku's existence like some kind of lifeline or something. Why does Izumi keep clinging to him like he's important at all? Deku is useless after all, and all he can do is cheat his way out of life while living as a disgusting villain. At least that waste of space is dead. Don't worry, Mr. Yagi. I won't let you down. Katsuki grins, accepting his offer. I know you won't, my boy. Tashinori nods. I will be there with you, every step of the way. Soon, they both began to talk, mainly Katsuki asking Mr. Yagi about how their training started and how to get him up and running. Being in prison, Katsuki is mostly stuck in prison and thus missing about a good 3-4 months after his last time at UA, so he's highly invested in how he's going to catch up with the rest of those extras at UA. By the way, Katsuki began to talk, diverting from the topic at hand. Izumi and that porcelain beach must have been in cahoots, and Manhands is probably joining in with them, being Deku's girl. You meant young Kendo? Yeah. Katsumi has been coming here quite often, and she gave me news on what's happened in UA now. She thinks that Manhands, Porcelain Girl, Pink Girl, and Izumi like to stick together. Now that he mentioned it, Tashinori tends to find that they have always been together, whether it's at lunch or studying together. They are always sticking together, and it's gradually closer now that his stepson has died. They must have been the reason why her daughter refused to go home and listen to him. Don't worry, young but Kugu. I have a feeling that Izumi is going to come to her senses soon. Tashinori smiles, closing his sunken eyes, hiding his malicious intent from the public. On the exam ground, Izumi and the rest of the participants are now busy with the second part of the exam, which is the rescue operation. They had to admit that they did a great amount of work to make this look like a real-life scenario. With a rescue scenario being broadcast to the examinees, large-scale destruction of buildings has resulted in large numbers of victims. The damage to the roads is severe, and the emergency unit will be considered late. Until the emergency unit arrives, all rescue activities will be left to the heroes, and they must save every life they can. The waiting room door opens up, and the 100 examinees rush out to the disaster site to carry out their rescue operations. All of the students headed to the nearest affected urban zone. They encounter a crying and injured child who screams that his grandpa has been crushed. Izumi finds that to be terrible, much to the crying child's annoyance, who finds Izumi's reaction to being pathetic and takes away points from her at the beginning. The child advises Izumi to check if she can walk and is breathing, and notes that he is bleeding. The child tells Izumi that if he wants a provisional hero license, then she must be able to access the condition of a victim and take instant action. Izumi realizes that the victims here are doing the scoring and becomes overwhelmed. Some examinees begin scoping out the danger area of the disaster site, create makeshift roads and landing areas, make first aid stations, and establish a relief area. Izuka hands over the injured boy to a female examiner, telling her that the child has a head injury, which is not severe and is bleeding, while his responses are normal. Izumi, you're good? Kendo called out from behind while holding a victim in her hand. Behind him is Mikumo, who also follows suit. Yeah, just working my way up on the creek over there. She points her finger over to the creek on her left. Good. Then we should be able to clear out most of the place in no time, Kendo replied. I won't get your hopes up too high, Mikumo quipped. Boom. Izumi slowly turned around to see where the explosions were coming from, thinking that maybe Katsumi had decided to blow up a civilian or something. And there it is, Mikumo commented. They all turned their heads towards the direction of the explosion, only to find a sight of Gang Orca and his minions bursting through a hole in the area. His whale figure gave a menacing look to all the students who were in close vicinity. Villains have invaded the building. I repeat, villains have invaded the building. The intercom chimes in a repeated motion. That's Gang Orca, a pro hero number 11 in the hero rank. Izumi thought, looking towards the arena where he came from. Gang Orca slowly came to the arena ground as the other students were too stunned and late to react, as they got taken care of by his minions pretty easily. Shindo, the student from Ketsubutsu, came rushing in head-on, trying to take the lead of the attack, trying to fend off the pro hero from breaking the line, but in less than 5 seconds, the whale hero managed to neutralize Shindo using his soundwave attack and paralyze him. Using a soundwave attack to disturb people's senses, that's pro hero for you. Gang Orca then goes to deal with Yurashi and Shoto in the front, who decide to slam Gang Orca with a chunk of ice, like the one he performed at the sports festival. And after that, a strong gust of wind blows head onto Gang Orca, courtesy of Yurashi. But Gang Orca took that attack like it was a breeze of wind, seeing that he's not moving or looking unfazed. Are you going to huff and puff till you blow me out of the way? Gang Orca called out, and he began to launch his assault on the two boys. From afar, Kendo and the rest of the group spotted them fighting as the minions were trying to break the line and headed to the rescue ground where all the victims were. Izumi, Kendo. The couple turned to see Tetsu, Setsuna, and Minoma coming towards them. Kendo turned to greet them. Oh, you made it back. Where are the others? Setsuna answered, Yui, a ways, and the others are still helping with the rescue. Our quirks are more for combat, so we came back to back you up. Good. We need 2 teams, rescuers and fighters. Hold a line here. Make sure the minions don't get any further. Got it. The 3 ran off to fend off the villains. Help! Help me! The couple turned around to see a short old man stumbling along the rubble behind them. Izumi began walking towards him. I'll get him to the emergency care center. Go ahead and start attacking. Kendo nodded and ran off towards the chaos, only to see the chaos had gotten even worse. A half-cement-covered Todoroki and Inasa were bickering with one another as Gang Orca stood only a few meters in front of them, and Shindo was paralyzed on the ground nearby. Shoto's flames were getting caught in Inasa's flames and were flowing everywhere. Oh God! Kendo covered her face in embarrassment. They're acting like headless chickens, Mikomo replied, watching the scene. Did you know that they're going to trip us up with a villain attack? Kendo asked, seeing that, unlike the rest of them, he's the only one who kept his cool and looked unfazed. No, but I have some idea they were going to do something like this, Mikomo replied. Suddenly, the flames were flung right towards Shindo. Kendo and Mikomo yelled at Shindo's direction and tried to run off in his direction before the flames swallowed him. But luckily, Momo came and she sprinted as fast as she could and erupted a fireproof blanket from her back. She tackled Shindo and covered them with the blanket. The heat flowed over them with the cloth protecting their bodies. Thanks. Momo flung the blanket off their bodies and stood up to turn to the 2 bickering teens. What in the world is wrong with those 2? My guess is the same, Momo replied. We need to focus on Gang Orca, do that, and we could put the pressure on them. But we can't ignore his minions, too. They were coming pretty hard on the rest of us. Shindo pointed out, knowing that they had it pretty hard. I could take care of those minions. Mikomo replied, but I'm going to need her help for that, pointing in Momo's direction. Do it. Izumi nods, and the 2 of them run off to intercept those minions. And what should we do with Gang Orca? Shindo asked, discussing the whale in the room. I have an idea, but I'm going to need Yurashi's help with that, Kendo suggested. That's Shiketsu, brat? Shindo asked. Yes, and you're going to be the key factor to it. Kendo looked in Izumi's direction, who was the key to this whole plan. Both Momo and Mikomo are running on the arena, trying to catch up against Gang Orca's minions, who are trying to break through the line that the other students are making. Of course, when it comes to experience, they were outmatched, being they have experience in real-life scenarios, but Mikomo seems to have a good idea of dealing with them. They managed to cut them off and formed a line, just the 2 of them, and they stared at the running figures of Gang Orca's minion towards their way. Okay, we managed to cut them off. That was close. So what exactly is your plan in all of this? If my memory is right, your quirk allows you to create anything that comes to mind, right? More or less. Momo replied to his less than stellar explanation of her quirk, as long as I know the structure and the composition of it. Do you think you can create a giant prism? Momo turned on her wrist computer and began typing, a gift that Izuku had handed to her after the Kamino incident had happened. What shape? Diamond. Momo found a formula she was looking for and began to use her quirk to help create the giant prism that was up to his request. It was a lot of work, but she managed to finally create one. Done. Mikumo turned back around to see Momo holding a prism around the height and width of a bowling ball. All right, listen. You're going to throw these directly at those minions. When you do, I'm going to blast this prism and shoot the lasers in all directions. The others should be distracted and try to dodge or run, including those minions. That's when we'll rush them down and take as many as we can. Once we do, don't let up. We need to stay on the offensive, or we'll be right back to square one, or worse, we'll be out of the running. Use your quirk to create a cannon or something to trap them while we wait for the other students to catch up. Hopefully, our attacks are enough to attract the others' attention. Momo was in a state where she couldn't close her mouth. It sounds like the plan itself was rushed and out of control, but he was quite smart to calculate the damage of the plan itself. If he were to plan this attack on a populated area where many students and victims, she would have shut him down right away, but they were in the between with no sign of anyone, so the plan is definitely work according to her book. It's just like Kendo said, there's something off about him, but not in a bad way, like some kind of remembrance when either one of them is working together and listening to his plan. But I got this weird feeling with him, like something felt out of place. Hey, Mikumo called, waking her up from her thoughts. You ready? Momo nods. She chucked the prism far into the air, directly at the group of Gang Orca's minions. Mikumo blasted his laser directly into the crystal, his laser refracting off into multiple directions. And with the crystal moving in its fall, the laser shot moved around like concert strobe lights. They heard someone from the attackers shout, "Get down." Now, as soon as the minions were breaking off the ranks, trying to keep clear from the laser attack. While they were busy avoiding the attack from above, Mikumo and Momo started to attack the distracted minions, with Mikumo firing off his laser, knocking them out, and Momo used her quirk to create a net cannon, trapping them. The minions were trying to avoid the attack and launch their counterattack, trapping the two of them with their cement gun, but the other students started to arrive. Seeing the laser assault, the two of them launched, and the minions were being held by the rest of them. Nice, we got them on the ropes, Mikumo replied, now standing above the rocks watching the others hold on against the minions. But it doesn't add up with the Gang Orca situation, Momo added, knowing that they still had a powerful pro hero playing in the exercise. What followed was truly a sight to behold. It may have been something that was thought up on the spot by Izumi, pretty much as a last-ditch effort. But a massive tornado had emerged in the middle of the training ground, right where Gang Orca is fighting. From the looks of it, Izumi and Yarashi were joining their quirks together, creating two tornadoes into one, creating a massive tornado that neither of them could ever create all on their own. In a matter of seconds, the combination move had already taken over everything within a 250-meter radius, and the twister itself was well above the buildings. Did these guys just summon an actual tornado? One of the Shiketsu students asked out loud in an astonished voice. What's going on? Momo asked, covering her face from the full-blown wind. They combined their quirks. Mikumo answered, I'm not certain, but for what I can tell, that Izumi girl is using her quirk to dramatically increase the speed of that Shiketsu's kid wind. They shouldn't be able to do that, though, Momo interjected. For them to do something like that, they would have to match the ratio and speed of their quirks perfectly. Not to mention, to join two large attacks like that without knowing how the others are working is dangerous. From the looks of it, that Yarashi kid is talented. And if the hype around that Izumi chick is true, then it wouldn't surprise me if the two of them would be able to pull off something like this. Mikumo added, still, you'd be hard-pressed to find even a hero team that could pull something like this off. And these two just met 30 minutes ago. Momo thought while watching the gust of wind blow out. Then, before the tornado could rip open the rooftop of the buildings, the alarm blared, ending the exam. And, matching with the blaring sound of the alarm, the tornado had also dissolved and began to disappear from the training exam ground. After the examinees have had their injuries attended to and have changed back into their school uniforms, they gather in front of a screen, looking at their results of the test. The results of the Provisional Hero License exam are presented on the screen. 89 examinees have passed the exam. Izumi looks up for her name on the screen and is shocked to see that her name is on the screen. Izumi is flabbergasted that she has passed. Not only she, but everyone in the class passed the exam, and even Mikumo did. I still can't believe that we all passed. Tetsu also cheered while throwing his arm over Hananuki's shoulder in celebration. It got kinda dodgy there for a second. If it wasn't for Fukudashi and Bondo, I might have gotten taken out by those girls from CI Academy, Shota said in a relieved tone. At the moment, the students of Class B were all having an impromptu celebration after the stellar performance on the licensing exam. Miraculously, they all managed to pass, which was practically unheard of. Throughout the front gate of the exam ground, everyone was living it up, enjoying the moment at hand, knowing they just passed and holding their hero license in hand. Izumi, along with Kendo and Momo, were celebrating with each other along with Mikumo, who came and congratulated them for passing the exam and thanked them for their plan. Thanks, I don't know what we'll do if you hadn't come up with a plan like that. Kendo thanked him for not only saving them once, but twice in this exam. Hey, it's all good. I passed the exams, and I get to be friends with you guys, so it works for me. Mikumo lightly chuckled, which earned a good laugh from the girls. While they were celebrating, Hatsum called them out from afar, came running with Yurita, followed by, trying to keep up with Hatsum, who was making a mad dash towards them to finish their exam. You passed? Of course. Kendo showed her hero license along with the rest as they were celebrating with one another. Congratulations. Yurita timidly replied. Thanks, and your invention really helped me out. It's good equipment, too. Really, thanks. Yurita lights up after his invention proves to be working well. Yeah, maybe you could work on my items, too. I had some changes that I've been working on. Kendo offered, and Momo follows, having her own suggestion, too. Oh, sure. He nods while his face reddens when his phone suddenly rings. Oh, sorry, my mom called. All right, everyone back to the bus. Schofield-sensei called out, standing next to the bus, to his Izumi group. Okay, sensei, Momo replied, and the group made their way, thinking that they needed to thank Schofield-sensei as well for his advice to work together as a group. They're making their way to the bus, and Kendo offered Mikumo to join their bus back to UA, which he accepts before he gets a call as well, saying from his friend in the business course. While making their way, Schofield-sensei's phone also rings, and he picks up the call. Well, it seems like you've been doing a good job of keeping yourself hidden. From afar, the gate where the bus was parked, approximately 300 miles from the exam ground, Kenji is hiding behind the crossroad while wearing a hat to disguise himself from being noticed while he's on the call as well. Good luck over there. Izuku. Due to their stellar performance on the licensing exam, everyone agreed to throw a bit of an impromptu party to commemorate this joyous occasion. The students of Class B were spread out across the common area, participating in various activities such as a video game tournament and a bit of karaoke. Some even changed to a wild party, turning up the speaker to the loudest volume. Their spirits were high with the knowledge that they came out of that place victorious. Does anyone know how Class A did? Shota asked the group. I heard that they were all passed, although Shoto and Katsumi got average minimum. His sister, however, did well. Kaibara responded. That's a bummer. Thought they won't make it. Back at one of the dining tables in the kitchen, Izumi was retelling the story of how the exams went for her. She was currently sitting with Setsuna, Momo, Kendo, Hananuki, and Bondo, who were all doing their best to suppress their laughter. I'm telling you the truth. That girl from Shiketsu ditched her costume and then hounded me and Momo for the entire first part of the exam. That must have been quite a sight to behold. Setsuna began slapping the table in amusement. At the moment, everyone was present. They were talking and having dinner with stacks of pizza on the dining table while they were celebrating and having a chat with their own group. Everyone's fun was cut short when the front door came knocking, and those who were near the door turned their heads and saw who was coming. Momo, who was nearby, decided to answer the door to see who their visitor. She turned the knob and opened it to greet who's on the other side, only to find Izumi's father, Tashinori, coming. Mr. Yagi. Momo looked in surprise, not expecting to see him. Young Yaoyorozu, can I come in? He asked. She was a bit reluctant, but Awais, who happens to be nearby, spotted him and invited him a call while telling everybody that All Might is here. Whoa, it's All Might. For real? All Might Sensei. They all hounded over to him, with the exception of Izumi, Kendo, and Momo, along with a few others, seeing that the rest of the class didn't know about the things he did. He then pushed them aside to come to see his daughter, giving a warm smile. Izumi. Dad, she replied, not showing signs of her smile, hiding her malice from the rest of the class. I've been trying to get in touch with you, he replied, rubbing off the back of his head. What are you doing here? She asked, cutting straight to the chase. Just here to congratulate you on passing your exam. He showed a wrapped present in his hand and handed it to her. You're a legitimate hero now. I'm very proud of you. Just give us a second. She replied to her friend behind her. Sure, Setsuna replied. Both father and daughter went outside the front porch as the class resumed their party and turned the music back on loud. They ignored the raving party on the inside and went straight to the chase for their tense conversation. We're about to eat, so... I'm sorry, but I can't stay, he informs. Well, that works out because you weren't invited. She quipped, not planning to have a long conversation with the man anyway. I'm being honored by the Mizuta City Municipal Group. He told her, explaining why he was here. They're bestowing me with their humanitarian award. She scoffed. What, they ran out of actual humans to give it to? I would like you to be there if you could. He asked, hoping that she would say yes. I am 100% certain that I'll be busy, she replied shortly. Toshinori sighed, seeing that his daughter still harbors negative feelings towards him. You might not believe this, but all I ever wanted for you was happiness. Thanks, but like I said before, I'm busy, she responds. He handed her the envelope with the invitation to her. I'd still like you to come to the event. It will mean a lot to me. Your mother will be there. You know what, Dad? She spoke with poison in her tone, like spitting out venom. When you can look me in the eye and tell me everything but the truth, then maybe we can pretend for a minute to have a father-daughter conversation like you dreamed of. She then tossed the envelope on the wooden floor panel in front of her father's foot, along with his present, and returned to the dorm. It's been a week since the day they passed the provisional exam and earned their hero license, thus making them a full-fledged hero as of right now, which brings fire under them now that they were recognized as heroes. After lunch was over, the Hero Corps students eagerly made their way to class to meet up with Vlad King. Apparently, they were covering for All Might, who was busy receiving an award or something from the new Empress of Japan. Izumi is sitting at her desk along with the rest of the class. After they just got their hero license, their sensei told them that they needed to see him at the class as he had brought a guest. And a few seconds later, the door opened and their sensei entered the class. As you all are aware, now that you have earned your provisional licenses, that means that you are eligible to do work studies with any pro hero that is willing to take you under their wing. Vlad King started. So today we're going to talk about the work studies in depth with the students who have experience with it. They are the third-year students who are known in UA as. The door is opened, revealing 3 students, the big 3. All 3 of them enter the class, and they could see them. There was a girl with a periwinkle, and it reached all the way to her knees, a tall young man with a very muscular build of blonde hair, and a teen with indigo hair that sticks out behind his head, and thin, tired-looking eyes. Everyone in the class looked in amazement, seeing the current 3 strongest students in UA. The 3 students who held the position of being the best among the best are standing right in front of them. Wow, I heard about people like them from the upper class. Setsuna looked in surprise, and one of them is a hottie. Awais looked at the periwinkle girl. Vlad motioned to the 3 students. All right, could one of you start with an introduction? The students all froze in place at the intense glare that the pointy-eared boy gave them, only for Amajiki to immediately begin shaking and turn his back to the class, resting his head up against the whiteboard in an attempt to hide his shame, leaving everyone completely confused. I can't do it. I tried to imagine them as potatoes, but their body are still the same. It's too much. I want to go home, the raven-haired teen muttered while facing the wall. Then the periwinkle girl of the group stepped forward. Don't worry about Tamaki over there. He's a little bit of a chicken. The periwinkle girl decides to step up and take over. Hi there. I'm Nedri Hadu, and this is our cinnamon roll, Tamaki Amajiki. You guys are in for a real treat. Work studies are a blast. The bubbly, blue-haired teen introduced herself. Hey, I have a few questions. Bondo, which one of those holes do you use to see out of? She asked the gentle giant of the class. Actually, Rin, you're the Chinese exchange student, right? How come you speak Japanese so well? Nijire didn't give Bondo a chance to answer before redirecting her inquiry. My mother, Tetsu, do you ever eat iron bars, seeing that your quirk makes your teeth like steel? Well, actually, oh, Izumi, is it true that you have two quirks? Well, you see. Hey, Yaoyorozu, how have you been? Pretty good. Shiozaki-chan, can you propagate flowers from your vines? Do you think you can grow roses from them? I've never thought. Oh wow, you guys are so cool. Let's have a quick Q&A. She's a total airhead. Everyone who wasn't used to the brunette's antics thought. Mirio, rein this in before I get a headache. Vlad King groaned while having flashbacks of his first year as a teacher. It's like his head is about to get explode from the news bombardment alone. No problem, Vlad-sensei. I'm next, and I'll be sure to liven up the party. The blonde-haired teen gave him a thumbs up. Everyone's attention was now on Mirio. The boy paused for dramatic effect before beginning his own special introduction. All right, the future's gonna be crickets. Awful. Ha ha. He began laughing as if he didn't have a care in the world. The whole class watched in confusion, seeing the third-year students acting like this while having a similar thought. Are they really the strongest students in UA? Hey, I get it. A group of third years just randomly showed up to your class to explain a program that isn't mandatory until your last year at school. The boy explained before a shadow cast over his figure. But I guess that also means that maybe you all simply just lack a sense of humor. Nair and Tamaki both shot Togata a set of sharp looks, knowing what was going to come next. Mirio, hold on. Nope, it's been decided. Mirio cheered while flexing his muscles. All of you first years are going to fight me at once. Huh. The Class B students gawked. Is that all right with you, Vlad-sensei? As Eraserhead would say, it's the most logical course of action to show them our experience. Vlad looked to his students, then back to Mirio, and then back to his students. Do whatever you feel is best. The white-haired man simply said with a straight face. The entire class was brought into the Gamma Gym for the sole purpose of everyone fighting Togata at once to show the first years what they had to strive for. Everyone quickly changed into their gym uniforms and began their usual warm-up stretches. So who's first? Mirio asked while stretching himself. Is he serious about this? Kamakiri asked what everyone else seemed to be thinking. Oh yeah, very serious. Mirio laughed as he stretched himself out. His smile is still as present as always. Everyone was looking confused as they had just received a challenge from one of the top students at UA. Tamaki, who stands in the corner, makes a comment about the situation. Mirio, that's enough. They're not ready yet. So just stop this, he said while acting all depressed. Yeah, they might quit immediately after this. Nijire came forward while playing around with Pony's horn. Hold on, why does the whole place look thrashed somehow? Hananuki glances around, noticing that the place is looking more ransacked than it used to be. It's like a big fight just broke out here moments ago. Before Mirio came to our class, he came to class of first and had the same introduction, and he challenged him the same way as he did right now. The blood-themed hero explained. Hold up, Setsuna blurted out before anyone else could speak. You're saying that they fought each other as well? Like what we're about to go now. Vlad-sensei gives an affirming nod. So what happened? Awais asked, wondering how the result would go. Mirio beat them pretty easily. Honestly, it wasn't that much of a contest. Nijire simply stated, I'm pretty sure the whole thing lasted about 2 minutes before they were down for the count. What? The rest of the class shouted in unison. A few of them found it hard to believe that a class filled with powerhouses such as Todoroki twins, Katsumi, and Kirishima were easily taken down just like that, thinking that it was a joke. But judging by the honest look on Nijire's face, she was completely serious. All right, so he beat Class A, no big deal. Tetsu puffed out his chest while striking a manly fighting pose. There are 22 of us and one of him, right? Setsuna agreed. Close-range fighters and those with defense-oriented quirks surround him. Long-range team, get ready to follow up. The girl commanded. Right? The others said, circling around the permeation quirk user. So, Who's going to take the first swing? Mirio asked. Tetsu decided that he was going to be the one to rise to the occasion. So far through the school year, he hadn't gotten the chance to prove himself to his classmates. So, dealing with the top student at their school would definitely put him on the radar. And just before Tetsu could say anything, Izumi and Kendo cut him off. I'll go. They both spoke at the same time, surprising the class, and even Mirio, seeing that the two girls who spoke were the ones who volunteered. They both stepped forward while readying themselves to face up against Mirio. Nijire and Tamaki, who stood on the sidelines, watched as the green-haired girl stepped forward and took his challenge. All right then, show me what you've got. Mirio smiled while challenging her. 3 minutes and 17 seconds later. Power! Mirio belted out while striking a pose. The pained groans of the students of Class B echoed throughout the Gamma Gym as Vlad had to cover his eyes in both embarrassment and pain, seeing his students were down for the count. To put it simply, it wasn't even a contest. Most of them didn't even have time to process what was happening before feeling a powerful force strike them in the abdomen. Everyone was lying on the ground, clutching their stomachs. Even a powerhouse such as Izumi and Kendo, who went ahead first, got knocked down. After licking their wounds in defeat, Mirio gave the students of Class B a rather inspirational speech before he and the rest of the Big Three took their leave, leaving the first-year students excited and very sore to get started on their upcoming work studies. After classes were over and done with for the day, Kendo used her free time to make a phone call to her parents, seeing that she had been meaning to talk to them for a while. Hello, the groggy voice of Kendo's father said on the other side of the phone. Hi, Dad. It's me. Kendo spoke through her phone. Kendo, how are you, sweetie? Long time no talk. What? Did you forget about your parents or something? His father asked. Judging by the sound, he's acting like a doting parent. No, of course not. She scratches her cheek. I heard that. You took your license exam the other day. So did you pass or what? Yes, I did. That's my daughter. Drop by our house on Saturday. We'll celebrate your success with your mom and me. We'll have dinner at home. Sure, it's been a while since I came too, she replied, feeling a bit bad since she rarely contacts her parents nowadays. You've been busy with school and your friends. Of course, we understand you well. How's school these days? Oh, it's all good. Mostly just exams these days since it's the new semester, but I think I did a good job. Don't study too hard. It's nice that you got good grades, but you also need to have a friend. Or maybe find a boyfriend. Dad, dear, that's Itsuka, isn't it? A female voice echoed on the other side of the line. Hey, what did the sound of a brief struggle caught Kendo's curiosity before a cheery voice made itself known. Hey, Itsuka dear, it's me. Good job on the license exam. We're so proud of you, dear. Thanks, Mom. She blushed in embarrassment. Anyways, you should come over this Saturday. It'll be so much fun. I'll cook a feast just for you. Mom, you don't have to. You're a sweetheart. But it's your big day, and we want to celebrate your success. Anyways, I gotta get a shopping for your party. See you later, bye. Hey, I wasn't due. The line cut off before she could hear her father finish his statement. And just in time, Hatsum called her to come to her room right now, saying that her computer had finally cracked Izuku's algorithm. Running like the wind, she quickly made her way down to Hatsum's dorm room and went there right in an instant. Normally, it would take around 5 minutes to come from the Class B dorm to the Class H dorm, since they had a circle around the forest part. But Kendo had broken the record that day, with only 3 minutes to go there. She met with Izumi and Momo at the doorway, who were still wearing their hero costume, which she assumed meant they had just finished training, and all three of them headed to the door and climbed to where Hatsum's room is before Momo knocked on the door first. It's open, Hatsum called out from inside as they entered. They opened the door, and it shows her room is scattered with many tools and objects all cluttered on the floor. Not just the lack of organization in the room itself, but the room is lacking any lights from the outside world, and her window is shut with drapes blocking sunlight from entering. Hatsum, we got your message, Izumi replied, carefully taking her steps around all the tools on the floor. Oh good, because you're going to be in a world of shock. Hatsum declared, stretching her arms in the air. I managed to break the code of his notebook. You sure? 100%. My algorithm cracked it good. Hatsum displayed his algorithm after finishing scanning each page of all 14 notebooks. But the deal is, I don't understand his message at all. So I was hoping you guys could get a better look at it. She turned the computer over to their direction to get a better look at the code message that Hatsum managed to crack using her algorithm, but they were having a hard time reading it as well. 22H-benzotriazole, 2-YL4, 6D terpenylphenol, 35.033240858554784, 138.43 57046108373, Shogi Bishop to 4-2. What is this gibberish? Kendo is the first one to ask, but does not seem to understand the cryptic message. I don't know myself, but the algorithm is sending us this message, so this has to be important, you know. Hatsum responds, trying to defend herself, but it's just a scribble of numbers there. Well, maybe it's a code. Maybe one of your inventions is glitching again. No way. They don't glitch, they just explode. They all scratch their head, wondering just what kind of message Hatsum's algorithm is cracking. There's no clear message, or clues, or even symbols. It's all just a bunch of gibberish with numbers and a shogi game. Or maybe she was just hoping that there was a message left behind by Izuku in the first place. Formula. Kendo turned her back and listened to what Momo just uttered behind her. What? It's a formula. Momo spoke, confirming her conclusion. 22H-benzotriazole, 2-YL4, 6D terpenylphenol. That's the chemical formula for UV328. And what's that? Kendo asked, since she had never heard the word UV328 in the first place or in any conversation before. It's a UV filter that is used as a UV absorber for plastics. Momo answered, recognizing the formula since he's used to remembering multiple chemical compounds for her quirk. But why would it lead to some absorption compound? Hatsum asked, not understanding what it meant. Because it's not the absorption that he wants to tell us. It's the UV light itself. Momo hurriedly typed the option on her wrist computer, which she was wearing, and switched to a UV light shining a purple-bluish light from her computer screen. A UV light? Maybe Hatsum's algorithm did crack his code. He's just giving us the map for it. What about the next part, the numbers? Kendo asked around. An equation? Hatsum asked. They're coordinates. Izumi realized. Type it down. See where it leads. Hatsum typed down the set of numbers and searched it before it pointed straight to UA location on the maps, specifically towards this building where they stand. The support course dorm building. This dorm? The code is here. Hatsum looked in surprise, thinking that all this time it was right under their own nose. No, the last message must be the final piece. Momo said, Shogi Bishop to 4-2. Maybe it's someone who plays shogi? One of the students, perhaps? But no one likes to play shogi here. Or, do you have a shogi board perhaps in the dorm? A fan perhaps? Not that I know of. Maybe it's the placement instead. Momo spoke, Bishop to 4-2. The square 4 from the right and 2 from the top. Which means the fourth room from the right on the second floor of the roof. Whose room is that? Hatsum jolted back for a second from Momo's sudden outburst before she replied in a shaky tone, it's Izuku's old room. They quickly headed to the door and went out of Hatsum's dorm room and climbed down since they were on the third floor. Their steps were stomping pretty loudly for anyone who's hearing this, but right now, they don't have the time to mind their step since they were in too much of a hurry. They quickly arrived on the second floor, standing right in front of Izuku's old room, and Kendo was the first one to turn the doorknob and open the door. It's pretty much the same when Izumi left to grab his belongings, but now it's all empty with nothing but a single bedroom, a wardrobe, a single table, and drapes hanging on the window. They then look at the room to see that it is very neat. It was as if nothing had happened here. Turn the lights on. Izumi signals Momo to turn on her wrist computer by shining the UV light. Momo shone the UV light down on the wooden floor panel, and they didn't detect anything but a blank wooden panel. Then they were moving to the walls, and that's where they found something. Found something, Momo quietly called out, not wanting to alert the other students. Everything on the walls has some kind of message or sentence written on it. It's all written down on every inch of the walls, and even the ceiling had writings on it, written down in an invincible ink not for anyone to see. Oh, that is so creepy. Izumi looks around, finding that all the walls have been written on. It looks like something out of a horror movie. He left a message in his own walls. Kendo looked in shock, but also in astonishment, seeing how clever it was. No one would bother to check up a hidden scribble on the walls themselves. Oh, good choice. Smart, Momo added. They looked around the walls and saw that it was full of writings on it. Izumi stared at the inscriptions on the wall, which were most likely written by her brother. There were two words that stood out the most, seeing that it was repeatedly written over and over on every part. It was Dad and Tashinori. I see a lot of words like Dad written on it. Who's his dad anyway? His name is Hisashi Midoriya. My mom used to remarry my stepdad when Izuku and I were little. Izumi answered while trying to read several of the messages. So that means that he wants us to help investigate his father or something. Momo read over the message on the walls using the UV lights. I think that All Might have something to do here. I meant his name is repeatedly written over and over again in every sentence. Izumi read over the walls, spotting the names All Might and Tashinori in several sentences. Maybe, but right now we need to hurry before someone spots us. We'd better take a picture of everything. Make sure that it's safe, and we can work on it from there. Kendo suggested taking the lead in the situation. Momo and I'll start writing it down, just in case, and we'd better lock the doors just in case other students came by accident. Hatsum grabs a pen and a notebook that Momo had just created, and they start writing down everything. Good, do that. Kendo quickly commanded. Izumi, the ceiling. I'll take the walls on the bed and the table. We'll take pictures of the rest of his stuff. The other girls nodded quickly and began snapping pictures of Izuku's entire wall message, making sure that they took pictures of each and every piece of the wall. Momo and Hatsum hurriedly wrote down everything on the walls just in case something happened, and it's a good thing to have a backup. His bookshelves are empty, Kendo points out while flashing her light, and Izumi looks at the said shelf to find that they were indeed empty. Let's just hope that Izuku has a digital copy or some creative hiding place, the girl says, and Kendo's eyes fall on the wooden floor panel where it creaks, and an idea dawns in her head. Momo, can you make small blade? And make the tip dull, Kendo requested, and she quickly made one small enough for her to use. She handed her the blade, and Kendo crouched down, inspecting the floor panel. She looked over to the floor and pulled the floor panel quietly and found something that looked like a secret stash. It looks like it's shaped like a box. What is that? Izumi moved over and spotted the box and opened it, showing stacks of notes and many copies of records, all varying in his handwriting, and some had stamps and logos of a hospital and police. There's also a small USB drive placed on the top of the paper. These are all police records, hospital records, investigation notes, phone records, bank statements, official statements, everything down to 10 years ago. This must have been everything he had related to the notes on the walls. We'd better bring this as well. Better not leave things up to chance, Izumi suggested, and they soon finished about 30 minutes later and hurriedly walked out of the room before quietly closing Izuku's old room. But their activity went unnoticed, as Yurita, who's only 2 rooms away from Izuku's old room, overheard all the ruckus and peeked from the door as they walked away. He then quietly opens his door and slowly twists the doorknob, entering the same room that the girls had just come. Tashinori sits at his office at Might Tower, recuperating from his injury while enjoying the quiet retirement after participating in hero business for over 40 years. He couldn't remember the last time he had enjoyed peace and quiet. The city has become peaceful. All for One is being locked up at Tartarus. Young Bakugu's wrongful arrest has been processed for his release. Everything has started to work in his favor. He coughed loudly, vomiting from his injury in his left part of his abdomen, where All for One had taken his stomach, but it was also the injury that he got from his stepson back at the exercise. It gave him quite an injury to his heart, giving him a heart condition and cursing at his stepson at the time. He pulled his drawer and grabbed what seemed to be a medicine filled with nitroglycerin pills to manage his heart before it grew even worse. Taking his medicine, he gulped a glass of water to swallow down the pill, and someone entered his office, revealed to be Mr. Sagaya, All Might's handler. "Sir, what a rare occasion for you to be here." Tashinori gets up, addressing the elderly in the room. "I was around, and I decided to pay a visit. Mr. Sagaya entered the room and took his seat on the empty sofa. I heard that you found something important to talk through with me. Ah, yes, I did. I was hoping to get the paperwork started with young Bakugu's early release. Tashinori handed the documents to him for it to be processed, and Mr. Sagaya picked them up and checked them page by page. Once he was finished reading it, he folded the document and kept it in his hand. Not to worry, Madam President has been working on it to make sure that the boy is getting out of the prison soon. Then you can help by clearing up his name and work your way to mold that kid to be your next successor. Thank you. He nods, grateful for his help. But, Mr. Sagaya interjects, what about your daughter? I was told that she's still in the possession of your quirk right now, correct? Yes, unfortunately I had some parental issue with my daughter, so it's unlikely that she would talk to me soon, he replied, knowing that things have taken their toll between him and his daughter. I see, Mr. Sagaya said, closing his eyes in disappointment. We need one for all might. It's essential to bring a symbol of strength to the new symbol of peace. If you intended to give your quirk to that Bakuga kid, then we need one for all to help accomplish that. I understand that, sir, but right now my daughter just can't seem to see reasons at all. She's been keeping her distance from me, and now she doesn't even want to talk to me or my wife. Mr. Sagaya thought about it for a moment before he remembered something. Didn't you say that your daughter has new friends recently? Ever since she moved to that new class? Yes. She was making new friends after moving to a different class. Good. Then all we have to do is bring her to come with us instead. He gets up from his sofa and takes his leave. If your daughter won't come to us willingly, then we'll just have to make her come to us by force. Force, sir? Starting by plucking their feathers one by one and taking away their hope and loved ones. It's Saturday, and just as Kendo had promised, she went to her parents' house and decided to have the promise party that her parents had decided to throw for her, earning her provisional license. She walked down to her residence complex, reminiscing about how long it had been since she came here before the dorm was established. Truth be honest, she really didn't mind her parent throwing a big party like this, seeing that they were just trying to make her proud and feeling appreciated. But she had to admit that she had been quite distant recently with not just her family, but her class as well. With the upcoming exam, the internship program, her gathering with Hatsum and the others to help with Izuku's mission, she hadn't had time for her circle and had just focused everything on herself entirely. But now, for the first time in a long time, she could finally relax and unwind for a moment. She thought for a moment that she wanted to help in learning more about Izuku's message on the wall, but Hatsum had told her to go to her parents' house and have that celebration party, saying that she deserved it. Taking the offer, Kendo decided to make her way there and get dressed up, saying to her friends at the dorm that she'll be going to her parents' house and signing the leaving form with Schofield-sensei, because Vlad-sensei had to leave for personal business. Kendo, on my way, Mom. She texted her mother saying that she's on her way, waiting for her to reply, but it never came, thinking that she might be busy prepping for her party. While walking down, she can imagine that her parent would be waiting on the front door with her mom, cooking and a cake on the table to commemorate her effort. Maybe her father will also be standing in the front door to give her a hug first before her mom can. She took a turn before heading to the intersection where her home is located and found a commotion on the neighbors, followed by a panicking sound. People run from the opposite direction, all carrying what appears to be a bucket filled with water, and firefighters are all running and yelling to make a way, carrying a water hose. They ran towards the intersection, and she had a bad feeling coming towards her, like someone was squeezing her heart. And the first instinct she had was to come running, thinking what was wrong and whether her parents were okay. But when she turned to the intersection, she was met with a sight that she could never forget or even erase in the future. As the image of her house was swallowed up by the fire, the screaming sound from the firefighter asking them to clear the way for them to do their job. So, this was the end of Part 9 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.